G'day, hi, and welcome. All right. TGIF, toes going first. Also, thank God it's Friday. That. Got some Johnny Walker in here. All right. I put so little, just enough to get a taste. That's it. Like, not even a finger. Like, a finger's about, one finger, two fingers, whatever. I put like not even a tenth of that in there. Just like not even enough to call it a sip. Just to give it a flavor, and that's just about right. And that's what I do every Friday. And bin number 17 is about to go out for the garbage, so that's good. And I made this video yesterday, but my camera shut off because my camera got full. So I had to, splice it into two. But I was a little too ranty yesterday. Yeah, me ranting. I know, right? Like normally I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky person, but sometimes I get kind of ranty, right? On that, so like I tend to laugh at like the most morbid, twisted stuff happening in the world. Could also be because I'm crazy too. Who knows, right? But the thing is that I got better information today anyway. And guys, you're gonna want to hear this one. Now, how much is speculation? Well, it's all speculation, but the probability of it happening, digested between two narratives, the truth probably lying somewhere in the middle, because like the stuff that you can't deny, that's openly admitted, against the counter narrative of, like it's two accounts of the same event, right? So the Iranian version, the American version. And there's just some things, the way this whole rescue thing didn't add up. Last week was a very, very bad week for the United States. Probably much worse than we're ever going to be let to know. In 20 years, they'll tell us how many people actually died in these raids. I think the pilots are dead. At least one of them anyway. I don't doubt for a second they got him. I just don't think they made it out alive. And I'll tell you why. There's a whole bunch of holes in their story, right? Bullet holes to be precise. But anyway, so the United States can't tell the truth on what happened because operations and stuff like that. The Iranians have to kind of spin it to their whatever, because they've got problems too, whatever. The best analysis I've seen of this whole incident is History Legends. That guy, he's really good. He tries to get through the bullshit of everything the best he can, right? Without the partisanship. And I like that. Binkoff is usually pretty good as well. The little sock puppet there. I want to get that plushie. Yeah, the little Binkoff plushie. Put him up here on my shoulder or something like that. But anyway, Easter to me was the giveaway that things didn't go according to plan. Trump not only insulting, all the Muslims with, his sarcastic praise be to Allah, but he also, praise be to Allah on the resurrection of Jesus on Easter. Let's see how we can insult every Christian, right? But why the tirade? Your guys just got rescued. You lost a couple of aircraft, but who cares? Not like you're paying for them, right? And look, some drones got shot down, which is probably going to make the Trump's money anyway. Like all these guys that were, Eric Trump and all that, and Byron Trump and all that. Oh, we're for peace and we're for this, and they're invested in, they start up a drone company just before the. Just before the whole thing takes off. How did they know, right? Or did they just get lucky in the markets again? You know what I mean? All these rich people just getting lucky in the markets again. There's no insider trading. Like, I remember George Soros snickering about that on live TV. Oh, we don't do that. Yeah, that would be illegal. Yeah, fucking arseholes. But anyway, so I guess we'll just, because there's so much to cover. I mean, the world economy is in a very terrifying spot right now, and it's just like it's kind of like being on the beach and you see the tide go out, get sucked out, and you just see the tsunami wave. It's only that big right now, but you know at that distance, it's a couple of miles out. You know that thing is like 50 feet high already. You know what I mean? That's kind of what's coming for us. It's just going to be unbelievable when we feel the full effects of it. Some countries are already like jet fuel shortages, and again, the ceasefire is not going to do anything about, like, the damage will take months to repair, years to repair. Like, even if you quit the entire war today, it would still take a year to 2 years to get back to normal for most some of the countries would take 5 or 10 years to get back to. It's just the damage. It's just the damage, right? The Middle East will never have tourism in it again. You know what I mean? Like the Gulf states anyway. Like, it's just like, all those, yeah, the damage, right? Like these buildings are no longer structurally sound. They've been blasted by rockets and drones and all kinds of explosions, and some stuff you just can't repair. Some stuff you can, but some stuff you can't, right? Okay, so the speculation is that this whole thing, the reason why there was so many aircraft available for this pilot rescue, this big, loud, highly announced rescue, is because they normally send in a much quieter team, to not draw as much attention and to avoid detection. You wouldn't send all these aircraft, right? I mean, there's a couple of speculations here. Maybe the Iranians said, yes, come get your pilot, get him out of there. We'll let it happen. And then when they went in with the okay, there was an ambush for them. And the Iranians are saying they set an ambush for them, because why wouldn't they, right? It's like, yeah, bring your guys in. We'll let you take your pilot out and or get all the other guys, right? That's one speculation that I'm making. I have no proof of that, but it's a possibility, right? But to send in 2 C-130s, to have them get stuck in the sand on a runway that was close to a lot of stuff, and a lot of reaction. For example, the bombing of the roads, that was basically an F-35, just to delay people coming up. The A-10 that got shot down was going after probably villagers and stuff like that were on their way to go get the pilot, right? So we've already talked about how everything was shot down, but the way the aircraft are on the ground, the C-130s, they're kind of at odds on the ground where the way they were placed, right? They were kind of placed like this. And some say that they're, maybe forming a shield against being shot at. Well, the Iranians put out a video showing that they actually shot up these aircraft as they were coming down. One landed, and the second one got hit in an engine, and it came to a grinding halt. So what probably happened is there was probably nothing got stuck in the runway. The runways are probably fine. It's probably they got shot so full of holes that the fuel leaked out and caught fire, right? So they probably didn't even blow up the aircraft. They probably basically jet fuel probably caught fire, and everybody just barely made it out, right? But it was also reported that it was raining, and that you see a video footage where it looks pretty foggy. You can sort of make out the silhouette, so you can hear machine gun fire. So maybe the Iranians were just staying far back and just mortars and machine gun fire or whatever. It's hard to say. So did they shoot down these aircraft, or did they hit them on the ground? Well, something put holes in them. So it's possible. Maybe the Iranians are like, okay, no, we did it this way, and here's our G.I. Joe version of the event, when they just shot everything on the ground, because it's more exciting to say you shot it down and pilot kind of did a kind of controlled crash landing landing beside the other aircraft, which the way the aircraft came to a stop, it would have kind of made it hard for either aircraft to turn around or take off again. They were just kind of really at oddball angles from each other, right? So then and I don't want to kick people when they're down. I don't want to do that. I'm not that kind of a guy. But I just want to say something. And maybe this is why Trump was in such a bad, foul mood, and then threatened to wipe a civilization off the map. 2,700-year-old civilization off the map. But there's a reported of a third aircraft that came in. Now, when you find out what aircraft this is, it's like, oh boy. Yeah. So remember Trump going on, we don't need anything from Canada at all, ever. They're a burden to us. They're taking all our jobs. They're not very talented. They don't have any industries, blah, blah. Well, the aircraft that may have saved all the people, we don't know how many people would have been saved and how many would have been killed, but the people that did make it out apparently made it out on a de Havilland -8. Yeah. So here's these two American airplanes stuck in the sand, and here comes our little -8, takes everybody up. Yeah, nice Canadian design there. One of the most popular, short, like remote runway / cargo aircraft ever built is the -7s and the -8s. -7s, they have twin engines. -8s usually have 4, but there's multiple versions of the -8. If you want to see a beautiful version of the -8, it's the Q400. That's just like, if I had the money, like just to fly it around, you know what I mean? It's just a gorgeous airplane, nice turboprop, whatever. But anyway, just saying, Canada, kind of like how we sent our water bombers down to help you guys. Trump forgot about that, and your guys are stuck behind enemy lines, and here comes a Canadian aircraft to come and save you. Yeah, but you don't need anything from us. So anyway, I'm just saying. I'm not being vitriol. Well, maybe a little bit. But anyway, the point is that they found documents of like maintenance workers and stuff like that. It looks like Israeli Mossad, female pilots and stuff like that. Don't know what that's all about. Now, the other rumor was that this didn't set out to be a rescue mission. It was, they were going to go after the uranium and stuff like that in some of the research facilities. Again, send in a bunch of guys with backpacks to go remove uranium. The other thing is that they were probably going to go and blow the building up, but that would create a radiological event, right? Which again, they don't care if they poison Iranian people. They don't care about that. I mean, when you're fighting a genocidal maniac war, the safety of people doesn't matter. But the idea that they're going to just like grab, yellow cake uranium or enriched uranium, throw it in a bunch of backpacks, and out they go with it. Like, it's a little more complicated than that. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of papers and files were found and stuff like that. Now, the underwear thing, that's a calling card. We talked about that from some of the special forces or whatever. So maybe they did get the pilot. What they reported is that he hit in a crevice with a broken ankle for like a couple of days or whatever until they found him, right? But it sounds like the Iranian military was honing in on him and waiting in ambush, because there's all kinds of, like, the helicopters that we see that got shot up and the stuff on the ground is the stuff they admit to. But there's like all kinds of footage of C-130s getting hit in the sky. It's just we don't know where. There's helicopters getting shot down at night. There's probably way more damage and death and destruction to this thing than will ever be let known. So the American story is the airplanes came down, the runway was soft, and the C-130s couldn't get going again. The front wheels got stuck. But the way they were parked, it wouldn't make sense unless one got stuck and cut off the other one, and now the other one can't get it out of the way. Like you have to understand, like the front wheels on a C-130 have their own motors on them, right? So they can maneuver the aircraft on the ground. Most of the heavy lift stuff does, airliners, stuff like that. And the C-130 is, especially this variation of the C-130, is specifically designed to land on like makeshift runways. So the odds of this thing getting stuck is like a 1 in a million chance, let alone two of them getting stuck. Now, I don't think it's getting stuck. I think it's more that they got turned into spaghetti strainers when they got landed on the ground. So I don't know if the Iranians actually shot them down, but there is footage, a nighttime footage of, it looks like a surface-to-surface launch of some sort of a rocket or something, and you see it going, and you see it's hitting something on a good distance away. And my hunch is what they did is they fired a rocket and hit the actual aircraft and blew them up. What's also reported is that the teams, when they got out of the after they got the pilot or after they got out of the aircraft, that they kind of like stayed off to the side till the next aircraft came along to save them, right? But there's no doubt that there's destroyed aircraft. There's no doubt that there's bullet holes in the aircraft. Right? There's no doubt about that. That can't be it's irrefutable, right? So we know that these aircraft were blown up or destroyed or burnt, and we know that they were full of bullet holes. So we know that. So maybe the Iranians are telling the truth or a half truth or something like that. It's hard to say. Were these things just sitting in the fog on the ground, and the Iranian forces were just staying back far enough, just because for their own safety kind of thing. I don't know, right? But over the other side of the mountain from where the F-15 was lost, and they recovered the pilot, well, over that mountain on the other side was a nuclear research center, which was close enough for these guys to land these airplanes there, crawl over get around however they're going to get around. I guess they were going to take the helicopters over the mountain, go steal all the uranium, come back, not die of radiation poison, and then away they go, right? However, they were going to blow up the facility or whatever they were going to do. And what probably happened is it's probably the same thing that happened to like the Black Hawk helicopter with the first pilot, where there was a Zu-23 sitting on the top of the mountain, right? And that's probably most likely, like these things would be all over the mountaintops all over Iran, right? Like they probably have thousands of these things. Who knows? The whole Middle East is just full of Zu-23s. Every second Toyota pickup truck, ISIS truck, has a Zu-23 in the back of it. Very, very popular. The Soviets built thousands and thousands and thousands of these things. The Zu-23, I think, goes back to World War II or even World War I era. It's a very, very old round, right? Probably one of the most popular anti-aircraft rounds on the planet. So will we ever know? I don't know. But we do know that it was 4 little birds, HA-6 little birds, that got destroyed. Basically, the HA-6 is basically the Hughes 500. It's the Magnum PI aircraft set up for military. Yeah, one of the coolest little helicopters out there, but limited in range, and they don't fly well with bullet holes in them either. So you got up to like 2 to 6 people on that helicopter at any one time. So I think that's probably what they used to extract the pilots. But it's really hard to say where the helicopters were destroyed. Were they out, were they unloaded? Were they loaded? We'll never know that. But the question is, how many people were involved with this? I mean, you had two basically C-130s, which, would not only carry the 4 helicopters, and I think some like Jeeps or whatever, or like side-by-side Razor type of doom buggies, basically, armed doom buggies. But they would have carried quite a bit of personnel. And the question is, how much personnel? I mean, for the pilots, there's 4 to 5 guys there, 2 pilots, a navigator, a radio operator typically, and sometimes you have another guy in there, a payload. They said it might have been a crew of 3 per C-130, so we don't know, 3 to 5, we'll say, just to operate the aircraft. So there's 10 people right there, plus the pilot, 11, and then XYZ amount of. So if you got 4 aircraft, you got there's 8 more people there, and then you probably got minimum of 2 like special forces guys, to 4 special forces guys per little bird. So you're talking a lot of people, and again, with the aircraft burnt, if we were to believe that the Americans burnt these aircraft, they definitely didn't blow up these aircraft or burn them before the bullet holes got into them. Right? So the idea that, again, they extracted the pilot, but they probably lost 20 or 30 guys in the process, plus all the aircraft. Hence why you probably got Trump, like it's a disaster. Because everybody's asking the same thing. Where are these pilots? Again, the PR of a national hero being down pilot being saved would be, rally around the flag, America, all that stuff, right? And you're not seeing that. So my hunch is the pilot didn't make it. Maybe he did, there's no, it's anonymity. They've got to, we got to protect this pilot because he's a special pilot, an F-15 pilot. We got to protect his. I'm not buying that. I'm not saying that's what they said, but it's just like, where are all these rescued pilots? My hunch is the helicopters you see getting shot down in the night were the rescue helicopters. I do believe that the Dash 8 made it out, but I don't know if it made it out with with no bullet holes. That's whatever. And then there was another 2 drones knocked out of that, while the F-35 pilots were basically bombing the roads to that little runway airstrip, which was the pilot came down near an Iranian prison. It would have been, imagine if he would have landed in the prison yard. Oh, that would have sucked. Yeah, it's really hard to say exactly what happened, but the odds of that this was a mission gone wrong to get the nuclear program, because one speculation was that if that's what happened, that would have been an out for the war, meaning Trump could say, okay, mission accomplished, we're done. And maybe the Iranians were like, okay, yeah, we'll let you get that mission, then you can end the war. Okay. And then it failed. Failed big time. Maybe the memo didn't get around to everybody saying, okay, yeah, don't shoot down, let them get away with it, let them go and say, oh, America, whatever, and pat themselves on the back, and it just, it saves our people, right? So maybe that's what happened. We'll never know. But we do know that the official story, like always, again, the reason why people don't trust governments is because they can never tell the truth. Oh, but it's national security. There's just, but it's always that. Like, it doesn't matter what level it's at. It just has to be a lie all the time, right? So the ceasefire. I made a big mockery of that one yesterday. Okay, so I took a day off. Okay, I took a day off. And Donald Trump threatened to basically vaporize and just kill everybody in Iran, right? That's what happens you guys know what happens when I take a day off. The world goes completely crazy. Anyway, so the tirades, I think, are just because, things are not going well. And look, the rest of the world is blaming Israel and the United States for this war. And it's bad enough that Donald Trump is screwing up his own economy. But the idea that Israel and the United States, the Jews, have basically destroyed the world economy. Like, he's destroyed the world economy on behalf of the Jews. There's no way around that, right? The thing is that you've got, you always get like the revolt from the active duty people that are just like, I can't do this or whatever, blah, blah. And you get that very little, and it's still pretty small. But it's the people, like there was one lady I was listening to her, and going on, like she was what was she? She was basically, she wasn't a JAG. She was an intelligence officer in I think in the army. She wasn't a JAG, so but it was something like that, right? And she worked for the military, but a CIA. She was also part of the CIA work, and going on about like the war crimes committed by Israel and the United States, and just like one. And she named, at least she named all the administrations from basically from George Bush on, right? Doesn't mean the other administrations weren't. You know, they're all guilty of war crimes, every one of them. But yeah, there's that. But it's the trend. You know what I mean? It's the trend. So yes, you are going to see a military coup in the States. There's no doubt about that. It's just who's going to conduct it, right? So yeah, so the ceasefire. Iran has a 10-point plan. The United States has a 15-point plan, but technically nothing has changed. Basically, like the Iranians are not stupid. They know that they're not going to let Israel and the United States use that time to arm up. That's what the ceasefire is for. That's what ceasefires are. They're basically tactical retreats to rearm. You see it every time in the Ukraine. Oh, we'll have a ceasefire. And then 2 weeks later, well, okay, we got everything ready to go. Let's go back again, right? The Sun Tzu art of war is basically never let your enemy resupply. You know what I mean? Keep the pressure on. So the UAE, the ceasefire is basically not even in play, and they're already breaking it. Like they're sending out like a bunch of Mirage 2000s to go hit the Iranians. You have to understand, like the Gulf states, they're in it now. Like it's either the United States and Israel wins this war or they die. You know what I mean? Because Iran is going to control the entirety of the Middle East. The only area where I think I was wrong on Iran, and I'm not overplaying their capabilities. Like, I mean, like, look, the Iranian defense system is saying, how did they fly that many aircraft into our airspace? We not know about it till the last minute. You know what I mean? But Iran's a big country. Like, even the United States, I mean, look, if you plan something out well enough, like the United States, you could have Russian or Chinese aircraft, long-range aircraft, fly over the United States without them knowing it. It's such a big country, right? So yeah, you're not going to have air coverage everywhere. The United States doesn't have air coverage all over the United States. It has a lot of it, but there's ways around it. You know what I mean? There's ways around it. And the thing is that the Iranians have been greatly underestimated, greatly. And I'm not overplaying their capabilities, but they are clearly winning. They're not just like when the war started. It's like all Iran has to do is survive and they'll win. They're not just surviving, guys. They are still selectively hitting targets. Like they're not like, oh my God, we're on the ropes. We just got to get out of this line. No, the power's still on. Their economy is still flowing. Yes, there's disruptions. There's no doubt about that. They're fighting the Americans where they're not, especially economically. Like, there's no counter the United States has for losing the petrodollar, selling, like the Iranians, they're getting something like $2 million, fee every time the ship goes out or whatever it is. They're making a lot of money off of this thing. And mind you, that'll have to pay. That's how they're going to get money back for the repairs, right? So the Strait of Hormuz is open up to people that the Iranians give permission to, and that's it. But it's now their Strait of Hormuz. It's not an international waterway. It's theirs. They've claimed it. You try to take it from them. You know what I mean? Like it's been. We're going on 6 weeks now, and there's no way the United States, the entirety of NATO, could not open the strait. The entirety of NATO, not without massive losses. You just lose. And even if you could get paratroopers, like landing people there is one thing. As we see, keeping people there is not very easy. Let's put it in perspective. If the Iranians were ill prepared for this rescue mission, right, or raid or whatever it was going to be, okay, they still came out on the upper hand with all the destruction of these aircraft, right? Now try to take Cargo Island and hold it. Just not going to happen. Just not like, yes, you'll get there, but those guys that'll be their tomb. You know what I mean? Like, you'll never be able to resupply them. They send these troops in with about 3 weeks worth of supplies. Yeah, maybe food and stuff, but ammo runs out almost right away. Like a full loadout of that is maybe 220 rounds. You know, if there's 28 rounds per magazine and you've got 7 magazines, you know what I mean? And maybe one in the chamber, you know, and then whatever you got, maybe 3 magazines or 6 magazines for your pistol. That's all you got. Maybe 4 or 5 hand grenades, you know. That's, you know, the average, that's one firefight. That's one firefight. And then you're out. And then you're out. Yeah. So the you know, they have that upper hand. They've got the entire world economy by the balls. I mean, you know, and again, you have to understand the world leaders kind of want this, right? Like, how do you think Klaus Schwab knew there was going to be all these little military, you know, like little regional wars and stuff like that breaking out? How do you think they knew all this stuff? Because they forced the hand, right? So is it an exact play? Like Cameron McGregor, I listen to him from time to time, and he's on the train of the elites have no idea what they're doing, that they're just reacting. And in a lot of ways, I would agree with that. But I think at the very, very, very top, no, this has been planned. Again, how can all these Congress critters, including Trump and his entire family, know exactly what to invest in before the war breaks out, right? Unless they know the war's about to break out. I mean, some of it, okay, it's an easy guess that they were going to do it, but you don't know the date and the time. But if you did know the date and time, you'd know exactly when to open your drone company. You'd know when to exactly, like the Trumps have done, and make all this money. You'd know exactly when to manipulate the gas and oil. Again, Trump is, you know, basically openly manipulating the markets, right? He does it in plain view. He does it in plain view. Enough that it's plausible deniability, but it's very obvious what he's doing. So yes, and again, you know, if you want everybody on the planet to, you know, have an EV, okay, and people they're just not taken to them, well, create a global fuel crisis. The UK, remember, we're going to ban all gas-powered engines by 2025. You know, if they live long enough, there's a lot of chaos going there. Right now, there's a lot of chaos in Ireland again. Like I say, this summer, as soon as the weather gets nice, guys, it's going to be like just absolutely insane with protests. But the thing is yeah, create a fuel shortage, and everybody has to buy the EVs, right? Oh, wow, they won again. How do these world leaders always seem to win out of this chaos, right? So there is a plan to it. I don't think it's an exact plan that works perfectly all the time. Even George Soros said this out loud many times. We try things, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But they're always ready to manipulate whatever, as Manuel Romuald said a few years back, no good crisis goes to waste. You know, like, don't let a good crisis go to waste. You know, that's why every time like there's a public shooting, oh, we got to do gun control right there when, you know, strike while the iron's hot and everybody's emotional, right? The good news is most people aren't falling for that anymore. Even the people on the left, like, well, we've tried that so many times and it just doesn't seem to work. You know what I mean? So Israel again attempted assassination on one of the Iranian delegates going to Pakistan for the peace talks or whatever, or the ceasefire talks. Pakistan seems to be very involved with this one. Turkey is kind of playing both sides, or all sides, as they always do. And same with Azerbaijan. They're kind of whatever Turkey wants, Azerbaijan kind of does. But at the end of the day, everybody wants to put a restraint on Israel, right? Now, Israel, as soon as the ceasefire was declared, they pretty much doubled down on just like targeting civilians in Lebanon, and basically they killed, you know, hundreds of people already. They're doing the carpet bombing of Lebanon now the same way they did in, you know, Gaza. But you have to understand, I don't know where these rocket trucks came from. I had a hunch they had them, and I don't know how many they have, but these little M trucks that the Lebanese have, um, like the Lebanese have a weird security forces. They have like the communist Lebanese army. They have the regular Lebanese army, because it's all these little factions. Then they have Hezbollah, and then there's other Christian factions of whatever. There's all these little whatever rebel groups and all that. But at the end of the day, I guess the bulk would be like Hamas and Hezbollah, right? And but they work probably coordinated with the Lebanese army, right? So the Lebanese army has a little bit of stuff. They have a few tanks. They just don't have very much, right? And they don't have the ability to operate a lot of stuff. But these rocket trucks are like basically pickup trucks with rockets in the back, right? So if they're older Russian M trucks, most likely what they are, maybe they're not domestic knockoffs, whatever. But I know they have at least 8 of them. These things, if they're firing the S8 80 millimeter rockets, those things will fire about 8 kilometers, or about 5 miles. So that's pretty close to Israeli territory, whatever. So to use them as artillery, you wouldn't use them. You'd use them sparingly. You'd have to use them sparingly. But the anti-tank weapons are really where Israel is taking the losses, and low-flying helicopters. So I don't know how many Apaches would have been shot down, but we know that they've lost about a dozen helicopters so far. Now the thing is these M trucks could take out airfields if you could get them in close enough. Problem is for the Lebanese is that the Israelis still have a lot of drones. They still have a lot of capability, even though their capabilities have been greatly degraded. They still have the ability to fight for a long time yet. But that said, the carpet bombing of Israel will probably begin this week, starting from Lebanon. And then, of course, the Iranians are like, no, the ceasefire includes Lebanon. And, of course, everybody else in Israel doesn't. Again, they're trying to assassinate delegates that want peace, right? Like, of course, Israel would do that, right? I don't think I have to tell people just how bad the Israelis look on the world stage right now. I mean, they openly call for all kinds of genocide, and they're actually doing it. While this is going on, you have like Serbia. They just basically thwarted a terrorist attack on their pipelines, which would get oil from Russia to Europe, right? Meanwhile, in Germany, you've got that radical leftist, in charge there or whatever. To make sure that Germany can never prosper again, we're going to take our biggest coal mine, we're going to flood it with water, turn it into a lake by 2030, so that it can never be mined again, right? Yeah, let's do that, right? Again, the Nord Stream pipeline blow up. Okay, well, we got to get the other one. Again, it's getting obvious, and it was American explosives that were found. So they suspecting the Ukrainians. The Serbs are suspecting the Ukrainians of trying to do that because again they're against Russia, but it will hurt Europe, right? Like Putin is out there basically is telling people like Iran is basically going to kick the shit out of you guys. Like you guys are toast. Yeah, like we can't stop them. They're fucking they're gone. No, the Iranians have been greatly underestimated. They are a peer-to-peer military. I've been saying this since 2010 that when the United States goes to war with Israel and Israel go to war with Iran, that it will be the most advanced country you've ever fought to date. Was I wrong? Not even close. And they're faring out much better than I thought. To the point where they're not just, they've got holes in their defenses, obviously, but they're also adapting, They'll adapt much faster. Look, anybody that's going to tell you that the Iranians aren't winning just because the Americans have dropped more bombs is not seeing the big picture. Look, yes, the Iranians they've had all kinds of infrastructure hit, but the lights are still on, the water's still running. The economy's still moving along. There's disruptions. There's still food supply. You know what I mean? Like if you think about like air superiority, you know what total air superiority looks like? Gaza. That's what total air superiority looks like. Where like you can't even get the jets are up at 30,000 feet. You can't hit them with the manpads, right? Well, the thing is that the Iranians not only controlling the Strait of Hormuz, which is probably their biggest weapon they have, because they can use it. They're using it against the world, but they've got basically. Sure, they are only about 5% of the world's oil supply, but they're controlling about 20% of the world's oil supply from that side. And it's not easy to get the oil across the Gulf. Like it'll take decades to build the pipelines to get through. And you see all these people, well, they're just going to build a canal and, through UAE and all that. And, to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, that would take like 20 years to build that. You know what I mean? Like even if you started today, I know it's beach sand, it's desert sand, but and there's there's like people's houses and stuff you'd have to go. Like it's just people always have this we're gonna bypass this in 5 minutes, right? I don't know if it was the Panama Canal or the Suez Canal, but a ship caught fire there, so I wonder what that one's about. There was also the other thing too is that. The Iranians, again, they've, electronic warfare attacks and stuff like that. Like you didn't get that from Iraq and Afghanistan. You know what I mean? So they're doing cyber attacks on top of that. Like they've got multi-level warfare here, right? And people are going on, yeah, but we wiped out their Navy and their Air Force. Yeah, but the stuff was just sitting at port. Like you know what I mean? Like a war's going on and like all their ships are at port for you to hit them. It means they don't care about the ships. Yeah, sure, it's a loss, but has no effect on the war. You know what I mean? And this is what a lot of people can't understand. They're still thinking of World War II, where the F-15 has to go fight the MiG-29, or the F-35 has to go fight the MiG-29, or the F-4 Phantom, or whatever the Iranians have left, right? But the Iranians are like, well, the rockets are working better than the pilots, right? And you don't have to worry about maintenance on the rockets after you fire them. It's a one-way trip, right? Again, it's a simpler tactic, but it's a superior tactic. The drones are still almost completely, they're virtually uncounterable. You send out F-15s to shoot down a 70-mile-an-hour drone. It's almost impossible because it's like you just fly too fast. Like it's an F-15 is meant to be flying at least 400 miles an hour at all times. You know what I mean? Minimum. Or else like they fall out of the sky at 160. You know what I mean? And maneuvering under 200 miles an hour on a 40,000-pound aircraft is not, you know what I mean? Like it's meant to be up high doing twirling high-speed dogfights, right? Not near the ground. Like even the gunship helicopters, like the Apache gunship, attack helicopters, like they have a hard time. They get too close to the drones when they shoot them down. The explosion takes them out. A Qatari attack helicopter. Apache helicopter got taken out like that, right? You shoot yourself down. It's kind of like the problems with the V-1 rockets in World War II. You have to be at an optimal range to shoot them down, but it's harder at the optimal range. And if you're in unmissable range, you're too close and you shoot yourself down from the explosion, right? So the Iranians have the upper hand here, and not only that, they've pushed the U.S. aircraft carriers out so far that they're virtually useless. They've got every U.S. base pretty much hammered to the ground, even though they're still semi-functioning. It's just, how much do you want to lose, right? And this, again, if wars are only measured in who loses more, well, the U.S. economy is going to suffer for generations. Donald Trump has fucked the U.S. reputation for generations. Even if you were to get Donald Trump out of there today, right, and put the most pro-globalist guy in there, the most pro-Canada guy, the most pro-EU guy, the most pro-Middle East guy, whatever, and anti-Israel guy, nobody's going to trust the Americans. I mean, Americans traveling abroad right now, like they feel like shit because everybody's just like dogging on them. It's like, your country's fucked, like Americans are not welcome in Ireland. Like the Irish, they fucking hate you right now. You know what I mean? Like the stuff you're doing, right? And I know it's not fair to every American, but like for example, like the MAGA people, like it's just like when I was growing up, like America was a shiny beacon. Everybody wanted to be like America. Now it's like they're the pariah, the leper, right? It's Israel's bitch, right? And I understand that the good news is about 80 to 90% of Americans are completely against what's going on. Where if you're looking at Israel, about 80 to 90% of Israelis are for what's going on, right? And who's controlling who, right? You still have these people that, oh no, it's the Zionist evangelicals that are forcing the poor Israelis into the war. Like, no. It's very just listen to rabbi after rabbi after rabbi after rabbi after Jew after Jew after Jew talk about what they want to do in the Middle East. Don't take my word for it. Just listen to the like the Israelis are very open about their hatred for everybody else in the world. They don't hide it. They're so smug. They'll tell you to your face. At least there's that honesty out of them. Because the irony is that they tell you to your face, but because of the evangelicals, you could tell them that Israel's going to destroy them. They're like, well, that's because they're the chosen people and they're better than us. And these evangelicals are not Christians; they are Zionists, right? They don't even realize they're not Christians. They might know everything about the Bible, but they're not Christians. And the Bible that they follow, the Scofield Bible, was heavily revised by Jews. So yeah, and Trump is a Zionist evangelical doomer. And there's some people that still dismiss that. They're like, no, he's just pandering to the money, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You have to understand, why would, the evangelical is not a Christian, okay? They might come off as a Christian, but they're not. Like the left, it's like Christian nationalism. It's not Christian nationalism. It's Jewish Zionism. That's what it is. It's not white supremacist. Like when they call Israelis white supremacists, Trump is like Hitler. It's like, no, like Trump is the most pro-Jewish president ever. He's like, his grandkids are Jewish. You know what I mean? All he cares about is Israel. And I'll still say the same thing. As bad as Trump is right now, he doesn't hate the United States. He just doesn't care about it. He's indifferent. Like, it's just like, I hope the American people do well. It's like, good luck to you, whatever. But he won't come to bat for the American person unless they're a Jewish person, right? Like all these people calling Trump, literally Hitler. It's like, you do realize Trump cares more about the African American employment rate than any white dude. Like, name one pro-white thing that Trump has done. No, it's either it benefits Israel or panders to like minority groups or whatever. H-1B visas. Like, again, this is why the MAGA people are like completely off the MAGA train, because he's doing everything the opposite. Like, how is he better than Joe Biden? It's like, oh no, we need all these high talented H-1B visas to come in from India because our people are too stupid, and we need the talent right away. It's like, yeah, it's all bullshit. But anyway, no, Trump is basically Israel's guy. I've been saying that since the second year of his first term, and I don't think I've been wrong. But where I have been wrong was when the war started. I was like, okay, well, Iran has got to hold on to survive, and everybody made this assessment. And then the first assessment was, okay, because the first, say, 3 or 4 nights of the war, we were seeing like 200 rockets here, 200 rockets there, 100 drones, whatever, every night, right? And they were overwhelming, the same thing they did last time, overwhelm the defense systems, run the Iron Dome out of missiles, run the arrows, the Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 and the David Sling and the Patriot missiles and the THAAD systems out of missiles, right? So overwhelm, whatever. And then by the end of the week, it drops down to like, say, 40 rockets a night and 30 drones, per day, right? And it was, oh my God, Iran's running out of missiles. Look, they're hurting now. Oh my God, and it's like, no, they ran out of targets. And then usually on the Friday, Trump would say something really, really stupid. Oh, Iran's about to fall. They're ready to make a deal. And then 5 minutes after, here comes 200 more rockets, right? And we just over and over. Iran has, we destroyed their navy. Okay, out comes a drone boat, blows up a freighter. They've got no air defense left at all. This shot down, that shot down, that shot. I mean, the Iranians. I think that's what they're doing. Is like, okay, let's patronize the living shit out of this guy. Wait till he says something, and we'll target that. Just to fucking thumb in the eye, right? And I'm like, okay, most of the world is cheering for Iran. I'm not cheering for Iran. I'm just telling you this is what they're doing, right? So I'm watching, and you hear CENTCOM coming out, and we hit 9,000 targets in 1,900 sorties or 19,000 sorties, blah blah blah, giving you these impressive numbers. Okay, yeah, but what did you hit? We took out the 400 rocket launchers and we hit their energy, we hit this, we hit that, we hit the nuclear site, okay. Well, then why aren't they stopping? You know what I mean? It's 6 weeks now, and they haven't stopped at all. They haven't really slowed down. If you look at the barrages, it's pretty much... And again, if you listen to the Iranians, believe them, don't believe them, whatever, time will tell. We know that they said we could fight this war way past the midterms, and that they're according to the Iranians, they're replenishing their little Shahed drones, plywood drones, faster than they're firing them out. Okay, plus they're still selling drones to the Russians. They're still that that supply chain is still going. It's like, okay, there's still shit coming in and out by train. They're still doing trade with other countries. But yeah, apparently we got them on the ropes. I don't think so. You know what I mean? What it would take to destroy Iran. Look, I was making the assessment that the United States could win a war with Iran, with Israel, probably NATO's help, in a year and a half. Now I'm going to say Iran's unbeatable. They're unbeatable. There's nothing, even nuking them won't stop. It's okay, if they have to live in the mountains inside the mountain for the next 10,000 years, they'll do it. You know what I mean? This is a civilizational society. They've been around for 2,700 years. They're homogeneous. They're not a multicultural society per se. So they're most of the Iranian people, yes, they all hate their government. Pick a country in the world where people don't hate their government, right? So when you see all these, and again, you saw the cheerleaders, even some of the channels that I actually like, seeing them, oh, look at this, all these Iranians that are cheering on the United States, please come and bomb us, Trump out there, please bomb us, please send more bombs, get this evil regime out of it. There is no country in the world that will say, please bomb us. You know what I mean? You might find one lunatic, maybe two. And look, when you see all these pro-U.S. bombing Iranians on national TV, 9 times out of 10 they're dual citizenship Israelis. 9 times out of 10. Is there the odd guy that, look, we got Maple MAGAs up here that want to become a part of the 51st state and they're begging Trump to invade Canada and bomb us. Yes, you have retards. I get that. You know what I mean? But most people know. The majority of Iranians, it's very clear, the majority of Iranians are in solidarity of their forces. They see now why the Iranian military cut out social programs to put money into their military, right? Sure, the Iranian military, like all militaries around the world, are corrupt. There's no doubt about that. But they are protecting their people. Like Vladimir Putin, same thing. You might not like him, but he is protecting the Russian people's interests. Same thing with China. You might not like them. These are civilizational societies, as Cameron McGregor would say, and it's important that you understand that. Because a civilizational society, it puts the individual to the wayside and goes for the dynasty, the greater good, the empire, etc. Right? And this is clearly what these other countries are doing. So they will endure, their people will endure as a group, as a collective, against any sort of foreign aggression. Even if they have the odd outlier, like maybe 10, 15, 20% of the Iranian population wants to be liberated. I doubt that. They did the same propaganda in like Kuwait and Iran or in Iraq and stuff like that. That we were so happy that the Americans came and killed 1.5 million Iraqis. No, no, no. If you really have a deep conversation with an Iraqi person of what happened during the war, trust me, their hatred for the United States and Israel is just absolutely and justifiable too. Like, I mean, we shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be in Iran. Sure, we don't want them here, but they shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be there. There's no reason to be there. And to go on about how we got to support our guys when they get shot down. Well, they wouldn't be getting shot down if they weren't there, in a bullshit war. All these wars are bullshit wars. It's just, it's bad. I've always said George Bush was dumb as a bag of hammers. But George Bush Sr. was pretty smart. He was a crafty weasel because he understood what the plan was, right? And he was a better liar. George Bush Jr. was just stupid, right? But he was smart enough to know what he didn't know, and that was get the propaganda right before you do your attack. Where Trump is trying to do the propaganda after the attack, which doesn't work. And not only that, it's a different era where you can't just, like, Desert Storm, it was CBC, Fox News, CNN, whatever, ABC News. That was your only sources of information about the war. Now, everything happens in real time. Like a pilot gets shot down, 15 minutes later you hear about it on the other side of the planet, right? Nobody can counter that. The only thing they can do is dilute the narrative with all these fucking AI. Like, again, these AI data centers, if that's all they're producing is just like AI slop, it's just like, it's yes, it's hooking a lot of people early on, but then the lies are so blatant that even if there's a half truth in there, it's just you can't as soon as you hear an AI voice, turn it off. Like, that's what I'm telling you. Don't even give it a chance. Don't even give it a chance. Even if it's sort of telling you the truth, like the next video is going to be some grandiose propaganda that's not happening, right? And it's hard to weed through that. So, because some of it is very convincing that you're looking at a human being. Like the main Iranian propagandists, they're using an AI guy, like that general that stands there like this all the time. That guy, yeah, in the gray suit, yeah, that guy's not real. He's not real. The Al Houthi guy, he's real, but he's like, like he's shaking his fist, and I got to do this to you, and I got to, like, he's animated. Like the AI is not there yet. Give it 5 years, but anyway, yeah. So the United States is in a bad situation. The rest of the world is already starting. Like India's already starting to feel the fertilizer problem. We're in April up here in Canada. It's snowing like crazy today. Like, this is one of the longest winters I remember in decades. Maybe not decades, but at least since the late 90s anyway. This much snow in April. Huh. Mind you, it means we're probably going to have a much more moderate summer, but probably going to be a lot of flies when you have that much water. But I'll take it. But like the food shortages, like there's already farmers, and you guys know I told you all the, fruit crisis that we're already experiencing and how bad it's going to be. But now it's even worse. It's going to be a global thing. Like about half of Africa is going to starve to death. You're looking at 4 to 6 billion people on the planet about to starve to death. There's already 2 billion people in food crisis globally at all times. Between 1.3 and 2 billion people. Just like I said from 2020, like 2 to 4 billion people are about to starve to death in the next couple of years. Not factoring in this war. And this war has an 8% effect on the world food supply. Like China, for example, like they're not selling fertilizer to anybody anymore. They've got stockpiles of it, but they're limited too, right? The only other country that can produce potash next to Canada is basically China, Russia, Venezuela, and we're the king dog. But even at that, like we can't supply the world fast enough. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like look, the fuel prices are going up here in Canada. Why? Because of the dumb refinery laws because of OPEC, right? So we're sending oil down to the States to be refined to buy it back here. So if it goes up, if the fuel price goes up in the States, it goes up here automatically, right? So everybody's going to experience these diesel price spikes and stuff like that. Not to mention like just the fuel shortages. The fuel just not able to get there. And the longer it takes to get this going, like the Israelis don't care about the rest of the world because they'll, everybody will be paying to rebuild Israel anyway, particularly the Americans, right? Like the Israelis get free healthcare on the American dime. They get the military paid for. They get all this free stuff, right? Interest-free loans. All this free money that they get, right? So, meanwhile, they're cutting like Veterans Affairs so they can keep fighting the war. Like in the States, like hey, you can't even make it up, right? But Trump's always saying, yeah, well, Cuba's next, so just be patient. We have to destroy Iran first, and then but the thing is that like Trump is clearly displaying, like I explained, he doesn't have cognitive decline. What he is a psychopath not getting his way, and he's throwing tantrums, right? That's the problem with some of these rich people that always get what they want, right? They're not used to being told no, and they don't handle it well. You know what I mean? He's got Melania out there doing damage control on the Epstein file stuff. That's pretty funny. It's like, no, I'm not an Epstein victim, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Who knows, right? The thing is that the Iranians are getting stronger, and they're now the total opposite of what the Israelis wanted was now like Iran is now a global player. Why? It's like, oh, hey, fuck, controlling the Strait of Hormuz thing is actually quite profitable. You mean we're going to like basically knock the wind out of the sails of the Saudis and the Qataris and the Kuwait? Like they're basically, we're going to control the oil? Yeah, okay, let's do that. So that was a big problem. And you have to understand, like, the Middle East, like, it's always been a tinderbox and always will be. They've lost over, God knows what it's up to now, but $600 million of tourism, in the past couple of weeks. That is, like, Trump plays these down, like, oh, that's nothing, it's nothing. Yeah, $600 million this week, $25 billion worth of damage of this next week. We don't know what the cost of this war actually is. All these airports getting knocked out. Again, I don't know how many civilians would still be foreigners and international students and foreign workers are, basically strung across the Middle East that are still stuck there. But I can imagine most people, if they haven't gone out by now, they're probably on, trying to find, if they have to take a bus to a coast and take a ship, right? But we're getting to the point where, like, the ceasefire is not really, like they're celebrating the ceasefire with firing rockets, right? Because the Iranians aren't stupid. They're like, no, it's our peace plan or nothing. So Trump can only secede to that, and it looks like he kind of talked enough that it's like, okay, well, I got to get out of this thing anyway, so I'll make it look like it's what we want and whatever. The Iranians are like, no, you're going to leave the Middle East. Israel's going to stop all its aggression against all its neighboring states. All the neighboring states are not going to support you. But you have to understand, like, at this point, like the Saudis, all these royal families and throughout the Middle East, like they're about to die. Like they're about to be killed by the Iranians or their own people, right? So it's like, okay, well, either because they're not gonna have any power in their own country. Iran is going to control the entirety of the Middle East, right? Which the ethnic cleansing is going to, start. You're going to start seeing the death ditches within the next couple of weeks anyway. Now, the desalination plants, a few have been taken out. There's about 400 in the region, in the Gulf, and the Iranians have only hit a few of them, right? There's kind of like tit for tat. You hit our oil, we hit your oil, right? And it's tit for tat. Now, the thing is that every time they do this, it creates massive crisis because that wherever that desalination plant is, the reserve is only made about 2 or 3 days, and the hot weather hasn't even hit yet. So, like I've been saying, the law of threes: 3 minutes without air, the average person dies. 3 days without water, the average person dies. 3 weeks without food, the average person dies. But factor in desert heat, maybe 3 hours without water, you die. You take your last sip at 12 o'clock and you're dead by 3 o'clock in the afternoon from dehydration or heat stroke. you know what I mean? Like that's a whole different level. And yeah, like those desalination plants, they're going to be down for months, weeks, years. Who knows, right? So every time you take one of those out, you now create the potential of an Arab Spring uprising, where you're not seeing the uprisings in Iran. What you're seeing is solidarity. Trump, and I'm still wondering if this happened. We'll never know because it would be such a devastating PR. But you remember when the Wagner Group started throwing a fuss in Russia, and it was like, oh my God, we're about to see like a military coup go on, and then they took out what was the name of the guy? Died in a plane crash there. What started with a B? Oh, what the hell was his name? But anyway, he was like the guy, but the guy was like completely fucked. Like he was completely unhinged. The war got to him, right? And he was like, basically, send us this, send us that, or we're going to take out Moscow, right? And they did that. What was the not Zelensky? Not him. Anyway, you're about to see that throughout the Middle East, where it's kind of like, okay, the military is going to start taking over because the government's inept, right? And once you start doing that, then you're going to see rebel factions, typical Middle Eastern stuff, right? But the royal families, like if they're even still in the Middle East, they probably took their private jets out a long time ago. I don't even think Netanyahu's staying in the Middle East. These cowards usually, that's the first thing they do is they command from outside the country, right? Who knows, right? But the thing is that Israel is on its way to getting itself wiped off the map one way or the other. The Lebanese, they're not going to lose this war. They're going to take a lot of hits, and that a lot of people don't understand that. It's like you could take 1,000,000 hits and be on the ropes, and then come back at the last minute, pull a rabbit out of the hat. I think we're going to see that with the Ukraine, where like right now, like the Russians are still winning, but it's a grind. It's like 1.1 to 1 win-loss. So for every one Russian that dies, they kill 1.1 Ukraine. That's almost 1 to 1, down from 6 to 1, right? How long can you sustain that? I don't know. At some point, you hit a stalemate, and it becomes just basically World War I, trench warfare, where just no man's land. You're just sitting there for 3 years. Line, you get 100 yards this way, you get 100 yards that way. Like over a period of months, right? Yeah. At that point, it's like, okay, well, we're not really going to be winning here, so let's either have an armistice or a peace talks or whatever, is whatever it is. But the Iranians, like when Trump threatened to blow up everything and kill all the Iranians, like the Iranian people took that very fucking personally. There's no doubt about that. Why wouldn't they, right? It's the same way when we hear the 51st state thing up here in Canada. We take it personally. A lot of Americans still dismiss this as Trump just trolling, but for a guy who's just basically threatened to wipe out an entire civilization of 91 or 94 million people, 2,700-year-old, cradle civilization kind of civilization, that doesn't bode well. At that point, you see all these people sending, women and children and everybody around the nuclear power plants and on the bridges and everything like that. So the pilots were probably in the air ready to target, saying, I can't hit that. There's too many civilians there. And if you have some like staunch general saying, hit it anyway, it's your follow orders. And the guy says, fuck you, no. Well, you're going to go to the Gulag. Yeah, but I'm not going to be a genocidal maniac. Hopefully that's what we're seeing. And those pilots, they need to come forward and just blow the whistle. Because that'll end the war faster than anything. Saying that, no, this is an illegal war. The same way, using the U.S. pirate Navy to blow speedboats out of the water, just saying everybody's a drug dealer without, like, Who did you kill? We don't know. What was on the boat? What drugs were on the boat? We don't know. It's just the boat was moving fast and we shot it. And then when we saw that there were survivors, we went back and hit them again, killed them. Those are crimes against humanity. Like what Trump was threatening is crimes against humanity. You know what I mean? So Trump knows that if he loses this war, same as Netanyahu, if they lose this war, that they're dead men. Well, the Israelis will kill Trump for failure. There's no doubt about that. And Trump is trying to set up as many psychotic pro-Zionist generals as possible, which by getting rid of the moderate generals that are recommending against this war and finding a way out, because you can't just, say, okay, we were wrong and let's go. That's not allowed, right? Because then, we're not strong on the world stage. Well, right now, the United States is basically suffering a more humiliating defeat than what they did in Vietnam in like 6 weeks. You know what I mean? Like the United States military might be the number one military in the world, equipment-wise and stuff like that, but they're not that good. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to a real war, they're not that good because it's not just about who has the stealth aircraft and the satellites and all these fancy weapons. It's the tactics. It's the targets. If you look at cost per shot, who's making off like a bandit? Well, it's the Iranians. Why you blow up their $200,000 building? They destroy $100 million aircraft. Or $30 million drone. Like it's not even comparable of the destruction, right? And the thing is the Iranians have that home advantage and upper hand, and they basically got they're not hitting one country; they're hitting like 15 countries a night, and you're still calling them a middle power. Name another country on the planet that could fight for 6 weeks, hitting like multiple targets every night for 6 weeks without even a hesitation of a slowdown. That is not a country that is just trying to survive. That is a country that is very, 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 very well selecting, like when you have your helicopters possibly shot down by farmers, let alone the military, like I think that country is pretty in lockstep. So again, the human shield thing, people say, see that they're forcing these poor Iranians out there for human shield. No, these Iranians are out there celebrating. Listen to the Iranians themselves. Never mind the Fox News propaganda. You've lost. These people are saying, yeah, if you drop these bombs, just show the world what kind of fucking monster you truly are. Like, again, listen to Americans that are going abroad, like the shit they're taking. Like, for years, Americans have always put like Canadian patches on their shoulders just so they get treated better. Because usually we still get treated really well anywhere we go. There's only a few places where people don't like Canadians, and, but for the most part, no, we get treated well because, we're not doing, like, look, Carney's just not even playing the ball. He's like, okay, I said what I needed to say to keep Trump happy, and now I just can get on. But the thing is that it's affecting, Trump's war and Israel's war. These Jewish wars basically affect everybody, right? And they're affecting our country, and everybody knows who's doing it, right? So there's no way around that. And again, like you can call me anti-Semite all you want, but am I wrong? You know what I mean? And I think this is the end for Israel. Will Israel go on for a country? Maybe in about 4 years, it'll be called something else. I don't know. It depends how many people get wiped out in this conflict. Because ceasefires are clear. Like the Iranians are not ceasefiring until they get what they want. Like they're not playing you hit us, and then when we start hitting you back, okay, ceasefire, we're sorry, well, let's have peace talks now. They're not doing that. They're like, no. Here's our 10 demands. You give us those 10 demands, or this is going to go on indefinitely. That's what the Iranians have said. That's what they're doing. So this whole, look, it's strike 3 with Iran. You hit them once. You took out Soleimani. Then you hit them again right after that. And then you hit them again after that. Every time during peace talks, right? Israel is still trying to kill Iranian ambassadors and stuff like that during peace talks, and decapitation strikes. Like the way this was supposed to go, because Trump has a very, he's not a stupid man per se. He's a good he's good on his feet. Like he's Herculean in that where he's really good on his feet, but he does everything instinct. His instincts tend to be good to a degree, but he's blindsided by his ego, right? He's not like Trump is not a critical thinker. He's just kind of like fast on his feet. So he's easy to manipulate. And the one thing I say is, everybody, well, it's because of all these generals and stuff giving him bad intel. It's no, he knows. He's in on it. Oh no, it's just he's trying to appease his donors. Here's what you're not getting about the donors is he shares commonality with the donors. So Sheldon Adelson, that shit pig when he was alive, he'd always say we need to nuke Iran, right? Well, Trump agrees with this. What do you mean civilization ending? Whatever. What do you think that means? Like Trump is, like I said, him and Netanyahu are looking for the excuse to be able to drop nukes on Iran. Pakistan says you do that, we fucking nuke you. You know what I mean? And that could trigger a total mad scenario. I don't know if the Indians would nuke Pakistan on behalf of the Israelis. I don't know. The Indians are kind of weird with their love for Jews. I don't understand it. Like what they're. I don't know. But anyway, the thing is who's going to defend Israel after they nuke Iran? And I don't think Iran. They're definitely not, they wouldn't let the Israelis get away with it. They're definitely like it's not going to be okay. Limited strikes after a nuke. It's okay. Carpet bomb the entire country. And I think it's going to within the next say 3 to 4 months in this phase of the war, you're going to start to see like the more leveling. Like basically, the Iranians are going to do to Israel what Israel has done to Gaza and is doing to Lebanon currently. Right, carpet bomb. But they're just going to use cluster rockets to do this. Like the Israelis, when the Iranians want to kill the Israelis and just like end it, they're going to take out the Dimona nuclear power plant, just irradiate the entire area, kill them all that way, and then take out all the water. You know what I mean? Just take out all the water. Just like okay, well, it'll be over in 3 days. Maybe a week tops, and then like. Make sure that nobody can get out. Like you're talking to like no matter how fast you send in airliners around the world, you can't move 7 to 9 million people in a week, like or even in a month, maybe even in a year. Like it would be very difficult. No matter how many ships you sent, the people would be dead from either radiation poison or starvation or cholera or just just died of lack of water. Right, like that's what's about to happen to the Israelis. And the Arab nations are going to push them into the sea because, like I say, we are in the 110th expulsion of the Jews and the 10th crusade, right? Which is playing out all over the world, pretty much how I said it was going to 5-6 years ago. I was saying, like, look, make sure you keep, if you're a brown person and you're in Europe, keep a suitcase on your bed because when the snap comes, you're going to get pushed out, right? And seeing all these Arabs and everything protesting and burning stuff all over, Germany and the UK and Ireland and all these places. At some point, like you're seeing the pushback of the Crusader. It's just the Crusader is not going to be a Zionist evangelical. They're not going to be a like a Knights Templar. They're going to be your soccer hooligan. They're going to be the waitress. You're seeing like these like Irish women. One there I was listening, like this lady, you look at her, she's just a normal lady, middle class lady. Talking about she's taking her dog and her mom for a walk, her 80-year-old mom for a walk, to see this migrant coming out of the welfare office and just start fucking mugging another lady in front of them. They didn't know what to do. And now it's like, no more refugees, no more, whatever. So all these politicians that are pro-Israel, like if you're pro-Israel at all, you're never going to get elected again. And if it's just those days are over. Like there cannot be any more pro-Jewish machinations in our governments, or we're going to die. Right? It's yes, you're singling out an entire people, but when you look at the machinations, whether it's communism, globalism, libertarianism, it doesn't really matter. It's all the architects are always, like Frankfurt School of Thought, whatever it is, it's always Jewish architects at the top, right? So all these Jewish machinations are basically what being put front and center in that question, right? So there's no way to spin those narratives anymore. Emperor has no clothes. There's nobody on the planet that, like whether they're for or against, there's nobody that's going to question whether Israel's controlling the United States and this war. You know what I mean? Like there's no question about that, right? It's a done deal. Like there's no way you can gaslight it at this point. So it's basically they got to go for broke. There's no way for Israel to win against the Iranians. I don't know how they thought they ever could. The way the war was supposed to play out, the miscalculation seemed to be this: that they were going to hit Iran like they did 6 months ago or whatever, and they'll hit them until they start shooting back at Israel, whatever, launch all their attacks from neighboring Gulf states like they did the last time, no problem. And then once Israel is done, satisfied with the destruction it's done for this round, and it's running too low on defensive weapons, what they'll do is they'll call a ceasefire. Iran will give up because they don't want any more of the destruction. And then we'll arm up again and hit them again in like a year, 6 months, whatever. And the Iranians like, no. It's game on. You hit us. Unless you meet our demands, our 10 demands, this war is going to go on. So there's no incentive for the Iranians to stop this war. And there's every incentive for the Israelis because the Israelis can't. They're getting hammered like you wouldn't believe. Like, don't take my word for it. Listen to the people from Israel. They'll tell you they're sick and tired of living in fucking bomb shelters, right? Things are running low. It'll be like the Israelis are not down and out yet, but that's just a matter. It's a numbers game at this point. Like they sent 10,000 rockets in one night. They could. It's the end of Israel, right? But the Iranians would rather bleed them out slow because they don't need to. That's the card that they're playing. Is like, okay, well, the longer we drag this out, the more painful it gets. And the thing is that the Iranians are also adapting to the U.S. tactics. So the Iranians were supposed to go down right away because of the aircraft carriers. Well, the aircraft carriers got pushed back right away. Donald Trump has already said the quiet part out loud that the first rocket barrage, they sent 4 rockets. They had to move the U.S. Gerald Ford back from 250 miles out to 600 or 700 miles out off the coast. Basically, the aircraft is, at that point, anything flying off the U.S. Gerald Ford basically had to, use air-to-air refueling 2 or 3 times just to fly the mission, right? Getting that fuel to the Middle East is going to start to get harder. Now, don't get me wrong, the Middle East is still producing oil, and a lot of it, whatever, like they're not completely out of oil. But that's like how many rocket barrages does it take to take out the entire oil facilities of the Middle East? Probably not that much. You only have to hit a couple of critical areas once a night, or even once a week, and that'll, destroy everything. So, like, unless the Gulf states surrender to Iran, and the second they do, that's it. They've lost legitimacy. It's like, okay, well, we have to do what they say. And as soon as the Gulf states say, they tell the Americans, you got to go packing, well, the Americans will either blow them up or do something dirty to them and make them suffer, right? So they're in a rock and a hard place. The safest place for the Gulf states is and I'm sure most people from the Gulf states that hate the Iranians are going to disagree with me, but it's probably under the protection of Iran. That's probably your best bet at this. Guys, sorry. The the Greater Israel project just turned into the Greater Persia project. I'm sorry. Israel is fucked so bad right now. And if they drag Egypt into it, Egypt's going to be on the Iraqis are already on the side of Iran. Turkey's playing both sides. Again, because Turkey always does that. But look, Israel is lashing out at everybody. They lash out in pain as they strike you, right? They're already making it clear, like they're saying it almost every week. Yeah, we're going to be taking out Turkey next. Well, Turkey's actually still helping you with fuel and stuff. Like these people are insane. They're fucking insane. You know what I mean? They're going to get everything they deserve. It's what they want. Let them have it. You know what I mean? They're retarded. They're completely retarded. They're blinded by their hatred, their evil. Again, I know it's not all of them, but it's just listen to them. They're genocidal maniacs. They've been brainwashed into this Jewish mindset of genocide and destroying Amalek. Listening to all these hate preacher rabbis out there just salivating about when the Mashiach comes back, they'll all pay. We're going to take down Rome, like Netanyahu said. And again, it's the majority of them. It's not all of them, but it's the majority of them. So most of the world is picking up on this. It's like, okay, well, they're the bad guys. The Israelis are the bad guys. They have been for a long time. They've been allowed to do genocide for years and years and years, decades and decades and decades, right? Because of the protection of America. But the most Americans, especially the younger generation, they're not, maybe they got to force them to watch Schindler's List like 20 times or something like that. But it's not going to work. Why? Because, look, I'm not saying every leftist out there is going to go run out and buy a copy of Mein Kampf anytime soon. But what I'm saying is that when the radical left, which was created basically by Jewish academia, the anti-white stuff, the white privilege stuff, all the pronoun stuff, all that comes from Jewish academics. Don't take my word for it. Just listen to them. They'll just track it back. It's a Stein Steinberg every time, right? And we're supposed to not notice, right? But the thing is that they've made these people, and I've always said this, if you kick a dog enough and make it cross, it'll eventually bite somebody. And most of the time, they'll bite their owner, right? So all these, okay, we got to make sure that we get as many college students, whether they're white or not, to hate white people. Get all the white girls to hate the white guys, and become feminists and stuff like that. And, become progressives and, white supremacy and colonialism and all that stuff. Right? And they were successful, to the point where half of our population is radical left, right? Across the entirety of the Western world. But the problem is that they also turned on the Jews, right? And I think it happened during like Trayvon Martin or George Floyd, where you started to see Jewish professors surrounded by all these like extremely narcissistic, sociopathic leftists, blue-haired leftists, being called a colonialist and ableist and all the ists, that buzzwords that they speak in, right? And sitting there, and the guy doesn't know what to do. It's like, no, I'm on your side. I'm against the white supremacy. It's like, no, you're with Israel. Israel's white supremacy. It's like, okay, these people are like brown eyes and brown, and like these people are like brown. Like, yes, there's some white Jews, sure, I get it, but the majority of the average Israeli does not look like me. You know what I mean? Yeah, like it's just, yeah, no, they're a little bit darker in complexion. You know what I mean? But the thing is that the irony here is that they have become the oppressor, because it's always supposed to be the white dude that's the bad guy, but it's like no, Jews are now the number one oppressors of the world, right? Zionists are, the oppressors of the world, and they're not white supremacists; they're Jewish supremacists. Zionism is not a white supremacy ideology; it is a Jewish supremacy ideology. So the left is sort of figuring that out, and they're going to get the branding right at some point. When they do, again, your Antifa today becomes the neo-Nazi tomorrow, right? And who's going to protect you against the left? I don't know, because like Donald Trump, one thing he's done is probably destroyed every right-wing movement worldwide will never, you're never going to see a right wing movement ever again in the United States. It's over. It's done. Uh, because when that pendulum swings back to the left this time around, never mind the midterms, the next guy you're getting, okay, for all you Americans that are laughing at the NDP convention up here in Canada, yes, with our point of privilege cards. Yes, I know how ridiculous that is, but up here it's kind of a blessing and a curse. It's a curse in the sense that we know there's people that are far gone, right? Of progressives, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, just NDP convention, the blonde girl with the big ears and the problem glasses, you can't miss it. Watch as much as you can tolerate. Like, and then after you're done laughing about it and laughing, oh, look at those fucking Canadians, look what they got to deal with. Okay, just understand that's not the entirety of our population, even though it's like Trudeau. Everybody thinks everybody in Canada is like Trudeau. The majority of Canadians hated Trudeau. It's just the way the voting set up, the cities and the immigrants outvote us, right? And plus, we have one propaganda channel versus multiple in the States. So we don't have the same polarization. But anyway, what you have to understand is when that pendulum swings back to the left in the next election in the States, whenever that may be, even if Trump suspends the election, he gets assassinated. I'm not calling for it. I just don't see how it doesn't happen. If he goes through with the election, well, you're going to get a Democrat. But that Democrat, you're not going to get a modern centrist Democrat. Because we're in a situation, people are so emotional, they will only, whether they vote left or right, will only vote for the radical. They will not vote for the moderate. Like up here in Canada, we were far enough left that the way it worked is when they voted, that cycle led us back to a left-wing moderate such as Carney. And I know a lot of people that follow my channel, yes, I'm a right-winger, but I'm very honest about Carney, the good, bad, ugly. And there's like no scenario where I would vote for Trump over Carney at this point. Even with all the things I disagree, and trust me, there's lots I disagree with Carney on. But he's probably, believe it or not, one of the most sane world leaders we have right now. I know that's not an endorsement. That's just where the bar is set, unfortunately. But it's survivable. If you can get your leaders of your country back to that, you're going to do okay. Because I look past the propaganda of that everything Carney does is wrong and everything Pierre Poilievre does is right. Yes, I voted for Pierre Poilievre, but not Pierre Poilievre would be marginally better than Carney, just on the other side of the aisle. He'd be marginally better. In fact, he might be worse if he pandered more to the United States, because that would hurt Canada even more. Unfortunately, there's still people, conservatives in Canada, that think that we have to, increase our relationship with the United States, not understanding that there's no way to do that. There's no path to that. The United States does not want a better relationship with Canada. It wants to take us over. It's not all Americans, but the ones in power obviously clearly want to destroy Canada. Donald Trump, the only thing he probably hates more than Iranians is probably Canadians. Again, or maybe Cubans. Maybe he hates Cubans more than us, and maybe he hates people from Greenland a little bit more than us. Like, he wants to wipe out Greenland. He wants to kill Cubans, he wants to kill Canadians, and he wants to kill, obviously, Iranians. But, yeah, he's gone mad with power, the madness of kings. But anyway, what I'm saying is that when you get your Democrat in the next election, you're basically going to be getting the point of privilege cards, NDP type of, whether it be Ocasio-Cortez or Kamala Harris, or I don't know who they're going to run against Trump. They could run a fucking dead leaf against Trump, and they're going to win. Like, again, we see all these little by-elections. And I understand what Canadian Prepper was saying. He goes like, look, the conservatives are still going to vote conservative because they're so terrified of the left. And rightfully so. I mean, we saw what life was like under the Obama years. It was bad. Worse under Joe Biden was the worst president of the United States until Trump too, right? The best president of the United States overall by every metric, whether you like me saying this or not, I know it sounds contradictory, but it's not. It just is what it is that the best president the United States has ever had was Trump 1 overall, and even at that, he never got close to a Stephen Harper level quality of life for the Americans. He did good, but he still did. America has never experienced peak Canadian. They've never had that. They probably never will. Um, Americans have some advantage economically over the years, but overall, they've never really had a better quality of life than Canadians overall. Usually, we're always over the broad spectrum. We're always better, with the exception of maybe the Trudeau years, junior, not senior. Um, and even at that, it's like the Carney is like getting closer to Harper territory than you know than probably even Stephen Harper was, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. The problem is the man on the street in Canada is not going to feel it for 4 to 5 years. We were slowly, after 1 year of Carney, getting to a point where okay, inflation was down by 1.8%. Not enough, but step in the right direction. We were now becoming the fastest growing economy in the G7. Not perfectly, we weren't at the top, but we were we were going to get there. This war has basically knocked the shit out of that for now. And if I'm not saying Canada is going to go into a recession, but the world might go into a global depression, and the United States is guaranteed to go into a depression. Never mind the recession. This war is going to cripple the United States for many reasons, not because of the expenditure of the war, that's not going to help, but because of the loss of business amongst the world. Like nobody's taking vacations in the States like they used to. The United States has lost, just to give you an idea of just a few sectors. Like there's no sector that I'm finding in the United States that's booming other than say like the weapons industry, which is like drone building and stuff like that, and Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and all those. Yes, they're making money, but they're making that money by draining the coffers and reaping the wealth from the populace, right? That because it's a welfare program, make work welfare program. At the end of the day, every government program, including military, is welfare. It's just we call it something different, right? But it can't exist unless that money comes in from somewhere else. And if you're losing money on everything else, it's like the United States has lost a lot of business to us in the past year because we went from favoring the United States on just about everything economically. And again, this is why Canadians are so basically insulted by Trump saying that how we're screwing you over when we like every country in the world, even including countries that hate us, we're like, geez, I wish we had the trade. Sure, their trade deals aren't perfect between Canada and the United States, but boy, like the best two possible, like the United States, okay, Canada, okay, we'll basically forego our industry so yours can prosper just so we get a better deal, and then we don't have to go through the whole hoopla of creating an industry. Like, talk about a win-win, right? And more of a loss for us than, again, favoring you guys has cost us from developing our industries. That like OPEC has been a bad thing for Canada, not a good thing. Why would we sell our like one of our biggest natural resources in American dollars? you know what I mean? Like it makes no sense. That helps America. It doesn't help us, right? But people like one of the biggest weapons that the United is going against the United States right now is the death of the dollar. Now, mind you, every world elite wants this to knock the United States out so that China can become the world power, right? But the fact that Iran is selling oil outside the U.S. dollar in the yuan or the euro or whatever is going to strengthen the Iranian currency a little bit too, but it's going to strengthen, China, right? So China definitely, no, keep this war going. Fuck yeah, no. Iran, we love you. You guys are awesome. You're basically stripping the wealth and the power, global power from the United States for us. Fuck, keep going. Yeah. But all these other nations that are going to be saying, well, you know what? The rest of Europe is probably going to say, you know what? We're not going to buy our oil or gas we're going to go around the SWIFT system, right? We're going to go around all that. As soon as that happens, that's it. The United States basically not only will be losing trade, but they're losing influence, and the debt is going to come back to the United States. This is what's happening with Japan. Japan's like in survival mode because Japan has fucked its own economy for decades, buying U.S. treasuries and stuff. Right? Now, mind you, it's made money on the deal too, but now it's getting to the point where it's going to hurt too much to support the United States. And many countries are going to see that. The BRICS nations are seeing this. It's like, okay, you know what? Because the United States does not have the power to project to go after everybody in the world that dumps the U.S. currency, right? And if they do it, everybody's dumping treasuries. China's dumping treasuries. They're basically bleeding the United States out, bit by bit. And every time those treasuries come back, that's debt. That's debt. And not only that, it's like the debt, that's the offshore debt. So this is why Max Kaiser said, like, the Americans have a death and debt-based economy. You take our petrodollar, we drop democracy JDAMs on you, right? The problem is the JDAMs burn up a lot of cash, sure, so does the war. This is why the United States always has to have a war to fight. But when you don't have that war to fight, okay, you have to get your petrodollar out into the world. And people have to take on those treasuries. They have to take on the debt. But when you can't take on that debt anymore and you stop buying treasuries, that locks up the system. And now it soars the inflation in the United States, which has, again, it's a feedback loop. Inflation soars, costs of everything goes up, the economy stagnates. And then inflation goes up even more, and then it stagnates. It's a doom cycle, right? It's until you implode. And the United States may be at the point where it can't service its debt anymore, right? So it collapses. It sounds great. Okay, we'll collapse. We'll just bring out the new currency. And we'll have their CBDCs and stuff like that. But the rest of the world is starting to reject U.S. digital CBDCs and stuff because it's not safe, it's not sound, it's not reliable. The biggest betrayal Trump did to the United States is basically destroying the reputation of America. You've lost not only your number one tourist to the United States, which is Canadians, but you lost the number two, number three, and the rest of the world. You're talking thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of jobs lost just on the tourism. And Trump, that's nothing. We don't need those people anyway. Well, those people that were probably making minimum wage, working in fucking motels and hotels, the service sector, struggling just to survive. Well, you've even taken that from them. The booze industry, I talk about that one. Kentucky is collapsing from lack of booze sales. The number one importer of alcohol in the world is Canada. Like I know maybe that's not something to be proud of, but there we are, right? And the number one exporter to Canada for booze was the United States. Now I think they're like second or third. Like it just keeps going and going and going. And while people are doing, all that's going on, there's all these other industries that are taking hits, massive hits. And it's all well short-term pain, long-term gain. Like, all these, bullshit things that they're saying. No, guys, look, that business, once it leaves, it's not coming back. And I'm not finding the but we're making so much money off the tariffs. yeah, just so you can take that money and turn around and support Israel. Yeah. Oh, you're winning. Oh, the Doge cuts, that money that's been saved has already been spent, and there's no more Doge cuts. And those Doge cuts, really, they cut Veterans Affairs, they cut farmers' aids, they cut all this stuff. Trust me, USAID had to go and be restructured. There's no doubt about that. But they took it, it was just cut and slash Javier Milei style. Javier Milei saying, we're ready to take on 350,000 Israelis. With what? With what fucking money? Your own populace can barely fucking pull money out of the bank right now. It's like, with what money? You got people walking around freaking Argentina with like $20,000 saying, here, you buy cash from me, so you can actually have cash because you can't take very much out of the bank. Bank runs are going to happen here. Like they're going to have to, they're going to put caps on like daily withdrawals, right? But like I say, don't keep any more money in your bank than you're willing to lose. The United States, it has a long way to fall. Its number one saving grace is that it has the largest economy in the world. But you have to understand, it's not, it hasn't improved since Trump 2.0. Like nothing has really improved. There's a lot of PR, there's a lot of that, but when you really look at it, no. Trump hasn't really done a trade deal. Carney's done 12 in 6 months out of the last past year. That's impressive, right? Who knows what he'll get going forward? Like the guy's, he's never home. Like he's always here, there. I know he was talking to the astronauts the other night. Whatever, hopefully they're doing good. I think they're on their way back. But you have to understand, like, the difference between Carney and Trump is like, Carney on the world stage is not a war president, right? But he's beefing up our military. He met the 2% GDP. Trudeau didn't do it. Harper didn't do it. Carney did it, right? And you could say, yeah, but he cheated. It doesn't matter if he didn't really cheat. Yes, he gave everybody a raise in the armed forces, but that'll retain people in the armed forces. The equipment procurements, yes, they're going to take 10 years to get anything. I get that. But some stuff is coming in right away. Some stuff we're starting to build right away. And in 10 years, we'll be building our own submarines. We might even be building like soft grippins. It's hard to say with a soft grippin because the biggest thing holding back that deal is simple. The General Electric engine in there. And yes, there's rumors of a Rolls-Royce engine that they're working on for the soft grippin, but it's not a thing yet according to Saab. So what I could, like, until they can sort out that engine thing, we're not getting soft grippins. So that could be a decade, right? So yeah, it's not good. Now, the reason why, like, there is an alternative to the Saab that I think would be possibly even a better aircraft. It's just that it has to be revised, but we can't buy it because France is not a part of the Five Eyes. And that's either we could go with the Rafales, which I know are behind the times, but if we sign the deal, say, okay, well, we'll buy the Rafales from you, but we're going to build them here in Canada, we'd probably still be able to build the plant, build the jets before those orders that the French have for all these other nations for the Rafale could make it here. I don't think we're ever going to get the F-35 because I think our F-35s are going to go to Saudi Arabia. So is what it is, right? And even if we do get them, we're going to get 16, and that's not very much. That's not. You're not going to replace. We're finding out that these F-35s are not really that good. They're marginally better than an F-16. Oh, but they can do this. They can't fly. The F-35 can fly maybe about 2 miles further into Iran than what an F-16 can. You know what I mean? Like they're really not that much better. The tactics are going to be, the F-16 is a great aircraft, but yeah, but an aircraft that could work for us is because I know the French still service them and upgrade them and whatever, and that's the Mirage 2000. The Mirage 2000 would be an awesome, if we can't get the soft grippins, I think the Mirage 2000 would be probably the next best thing. It's a single engine. Yes, we could get, if we wanted to outfit it with, Saab or Rafale or whoever's industries, we can go with that. We don't have to use Raytheon anymore. We don't have to use it. We can't really use anything American anyway in the military because the Americans are going to attack us at some point. Is it a fully done deal? I'd say 99% chance of an attack from the United States. But I think that comes on the fail of not being able to defend Israel and then Trump lashing out at everybody because it's the rest of the world's fault for not coming to the aid of the United States. You can hear the rhetoric that he's putting out. Like, again, if he goes after Cuba, that means he's serious about Greenland and Canada. But that said, by that time, the Nordic 7 might be well positioned to defend against the United States making an excursion in the Arctic. Now, the only question is he going to attack Canada or Greenland before, attack Canada before Greenland or Greenland before Canada, or are we going to be attacked simultaneously? I don't know. All I know is this: is that by the time the Americans are ready to attack, year and a half from now, by that time we're probably going to be mobilized with anti-tank weapons and stuff like that. So yes, the Americans will have the air power superiority, but they won't have they won't be able to do much better than well, they won't be able to win the war. I know that. Like you lose about 150 million Americans. Canada's probably going to take 2/3 of the northern United States and Alaska, and it'll be about a 30-year war. And I know people think I'm crazy. Well, no, we got this equipment, we got that equipment. You know, we'll take Canada in 3 days. Yeah. Iran was supposed to be 3 days. Sure, Iran has a different tactic, but hey, look, we're getting rocket trucks too. Just they might not have as long a range. But it's just which ones are we going to go for? Like, I don't know if we got those 30 HIMARS from the United States yet. Maybe we got them, and we won't be able to use them to the full extent because it's the same problem the Ukrainians and the Poles have. Like the Poles, they're going to build like something like 400 HIMARS, right, to deal with Russian aggression if it should ever come across their border, and that could happen depending on what happens in, say, for example, Hungary. They're having their election, and it looks like it's going to be a close one for Orban, because like Orban, he's been basically staying neutral and not helping the Ukraine. So there's a lot of Ukrainian infiltration, and EU again. They want they need they want another ally to basically join up to go against Russia, right? And Hungary doesn't seem to want to do that. They want to stay neutral, which is in their best interest to do so. Plus, they don't want to be flooded with migrants, right? Hungary and Poland have kind of done the right thing when it comes to the migrants. Yes, if you have to shoot them at your border, shoot them at your border. Like, oh, the humanity. It's like, yeah, but if you look at what's going on in all the Western countries, like, it's going to end up that way anyway. So, like, just, don't let it happen. Don't let the radical left keep trying to gaslight us into, well, you're racist bigot if you don't want to bring in all these refugees. Yeah, no, we just no. But those are our options. Is the Mirage 2000? It's an older option. I think the Saab Gripen is a better choice out of the two, even if the performance level of the Mirage 2000 might be slightly better. But I digress. That said, if we can come up with an engine for the Gripen, it would be basically a no-brainer for us to kind of design and build our own. A Bombardier could do it, Rotax could do it, Rolls-Royce could do it, sure. But the problem is you have to retest the aircraft to do it. So I think what we need is a couple of airframes to do as test beds first to see what we can replace it with. Because the Gripen just got a new engine upgrade of the General Electric 414 or 416 GE engine or whatever it is, that engine, and it basically, like when you put a new engine in, it stresses the aircraft differently, right? Even if you design it to fit, it's not just about making it fit. There's other things, pressure differences, stresses on the airframe, fueling issues. There's all kinds of things that can happen, right? But Saab cannot independently sell these aircraft to any nation they want because there's U.S. intellectual property in there, and that's the engine. So, like Saab themselves have to come up with either their own domestic engine, which my hunch is that's probably the way they're going to go. Like everybody's going to come to the conclusion, probably within the next couple of weeks, that this globalization is over. Like, sure, you can do global trade. There's no doubt about that. Nobody's against global trade. But this idea of, okay, we're going to manufacture this part in this country, that part in that country, that part, and then somehow it's supposed to be cheaper to ship all these other things from, because we've got a deal on the cheap slave labor and lack of environmental laws over here, and then, okay, but we have to put all our guys out of work. Where people are saying, no, let's build 100% in our own country. Like the auto industry is going to have to build a car in Canada 100% designed by Canada and 100% built by Canada. The problem is that that industry takes 10 years to get going. But the sooner we start it, the better we're going to be. Same with aviation and stuff like that. We can no longer put American engines in Canadian airframes. It's just doing that is just it's asking for trouble. You know what I mean? Because like, look, Trump is threatening to basically boycott, you know, um, Canadian-built aircraft, Bombardier aircraft. Uh, like these RCJ 900s and stuff like that. If we don't fast track the approval of the Gulfstream, right? Which the Gulfstream is still for sale up here, but it has to meet our aviation requirements. This idea of fast tracking everything, like it's like Trump is completely unhinged that way. Like it's just, again, he's a bully, right? So the thing is if we never want to be in this situation again, we have to be completely independent of the United States. Now, each week that goes on, we're doing less and less trade with the United States and diverting that trade to other places. It will take about 4 or 5 years to completely wean us off 90% of the United States, right? I say within 10 years, we're maybe doing 3-4% trade with the United States at most. And that's going to hurt Canada. The thing is, like I say, if we look at the economies, the United States has bad, ugly, or worse, and disaster economy. Canada is good, bad, and gamble. Like the Canadian economy's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. And can Carney outrun the collapse of the United States? I don't know, because we're so greatly linked to it. But that said, 80% of the trade we probably do with the United States, we could do away with and just either supplement through another, through another partner, right? Whether it be cheap or not, it's not the issue. It's it's the products, it's the critical products and infrastructure. Like there is gas and oil and electricity that come back and forth across the borders, right? The majority of our gas and oil go to the United States, but they do send us some oil and stuff like that as well. Because it's integrated trade, right? It was mutually beneficial to do this, even if there might be some issues here and there, right? But at the end of the day, it's very clear that Canada is still working on all kinds of new projects and stuff like that. Some good, some okay, whatever. Yes, the windmill stuff and the green stuff, the green economy stuff. Take it with a grain of salt. It's 50-50. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. But it's something that is basically increasing our industries. It's just, the profits might not be now, but 10, 15 years from now, we might be the leaders in an industry that the United States is not. And that's what's happening up here in Canada. And the rest of the world is kind of following to our, like Canada is kind of like the beacon in the world right now. It's like, okay, well, the Canadians are doing this. How do we partner with them? How do we, ditch the United States for Canada? Like that's going on. The Americans aren't hearing this stuff because they're propagandized by Canada bad, Canada evil. We need to take them over, whatever. Again, there's only a handful of Americans that are for that, and they can go fuck off and die. But the 80% of the Americans, again, they don't want to take over Canada. You know what I mean? They don't. It's that the neocon GOP type, conservative type, mainly the MAGA boomer type that believes in that kind of stuff because well, America, American exceptionalism, manifest destiny, all that retardation. Look, it's to the point that in Germany they have and again, I know this is going to blow your mind, but they have books that they're teaching the kids in school about American propaganda and stuff like that. It's like in Germany, right? Yeah. It's like, yeah, but there's no progressive propaganda there whatsoever. Yeah. Same here in Canada. Like again, like the schools are propagandized and stuff like that. Why do you think we have so much mental illness amongst the youth, right? Like it's they believe that. But even at that, it's so far polarized and gone that any sort of sane kid, like you talk to like the young kids, they know the LGBTQ thing is a farce. They like, yeah, they're not embracing it the way the majority are against it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they're all going to become conservatives, but what I'm saying is it's not. I think we've hit a threshold that radical left, radical right, like GOP, neocon, we got to go to war for everywhere Israel wants us to go to war. I think those days are going to be coming to an end. It's just it still might take a decade to get rid of it, right? Um, like America First comes after the Civil War in the States, uh, and that Civil War might be triggered by a shooting war with Canada. Places to watch again. We'll see when the water. It's still like 3 months away, but when the waters in the Arctic open up to see what the Americans do if they start trying to send warships through through the Northwest Passage and stuff like that, and basically violate Canadian waterways. That's one place to watch, and the other place to watch is the around the Great Lakes. All the, the Ambassador Bridge is no longer the number one trade bridge. It's now I forget the other bridge. It's not the Gordie Howe one. Trump has attacked that one. Economically. Uh, but again, that's where they're going to make the move. And yes, the same soldiers that are bombing schoolgirls in Iran are going to do the same thing here in Canada. Like they're going to kill us. Like they're. It's not hyperbole. It's not Trump derangement syndrome. They'll just follow orders. And again, there's no such thing as brave law enforcement, military. They're just guys keeping their paychecks and following orders. You know what I mean? And if they do become brave, well, then you're going to have a military coup, right? Um, so yeah, Trump is. It's. I do believe there is going to be probably about July, August. You'll probably see some rumblings of either thwarted military coups in the United States, or you're probably going to see like mystery deaths amongst politicians and judges and lawyers and stuff like that. Uh, Again, call them 007s, spooks with a conscience. Most likely active duty law enforcement is going to like assassinate judges and stuff like that because they know who all the bad guys are. They know all the freaks and weirdos are. They know, like, trust me, every cop knows who, and every CIA agent probably knows who's on the list and stuff like that. Now, the left thinks this war is just to hide the Epstein files, and it's like, no, it's not. The Epstein files are irrelevant. Name me one judge, lawyer, or prosecutor that's going to prosecute anybody. Like, they don't care about that. They don't care if the public knows. It doesn't matter if it's bad PR. No one's going to go to jail. You know what I mean? Why? Because the CIA people are and the FBI, they're not brave. They just want to keep they'll go after a low level guy like like a drug dealer or something like that, but you don't go after the big cartels because that's above your paycheck, right? These people are cowards. Like we saw what happened in the 2020. Safe and effective. Yeah, okay. Well, I got to keep my job. We know it's a bullshit thing, but we're going to go and start arresting people and stuff. That's what these people do. Unfortunately, that's what they do. They just follow whatever the command structure tells them, right? So when they're given the orders to open fire on citizenry or bomb bridges, they typically do. You might get the odd guy that stands down, but really, historically speaking, military law enforcement always brutalize pick a country, any country. These are the people that are putting you in the death ditches at the end of the day. It's not that I'm black pilled or anything. It's just that's reality. So no, there's no brave law enforcement, military or judges or lawyers or whatever that are going to arrest any of the Epstein people. They don't care about that. That's why it's openly admitted. They don't care. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them. It's inconsequential. Collapsing the world food prices doesn't matter to the global elites. It's inconsequential to them, right? They don't care about the little guy. They never did. They never will. It's just when the pitchfork revolution comes out of that, then it's just how many soldiers will be willing to sacrifice their own family members in the chaos of starvation and civil war. Like how loyal will they stay? when the shit hits the fan. That's not before. Like they will not do anything before. You see it over and over and over again. You remember in Ukraine, the Berkut on their knees begging for forgiveness. We're just following orders. Yeah, like you're gonna see that with U.S. soldiers again. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to kill all your people, your family members, and put them in ditches and stuff. Yeah. Again, that's what the history books tell you. That's what's coming. It's just, is it this year, next year, the year after? Nobody knows. Like I said, the 10th Crusade and the 110th expulsion of the Jews, you will see, not that I'm calling for it, but you will see death ditches in the West. It's just the question is who's going in them. Right now it's Whitey. That hasn't changed. Especially after you get that left-wing swing back to the hyper-radical left. Gulags are going to be full of right-wingers. There's just no... The only way out is through and surviving. That's like, guys, remember back around January 1st when I said my main goal for my New Year's resolution was just don't die? Now you've seen what I'm getting at. I knew it was going to get bad. I didn't think we were going to get this far bad this quick. I thought this was still a few years out, but the timeline of everything is just, it does that. It bottlenecks, right? And then you just get this quickening where just every day is just something completely insane and radical and whatever. So the ceasefire, don't be fooled. It's not a ceasefire. Israel has no intentions of ceasefiring. And the Iranians aren't stupid, and they're not going to give an inch. Why would they? They're winning. It's not just they've got to hold on. They're going to take damage. But they've clearly got a superior strategy. They've got the world economy hostage, and it's again, the United States is about to go to war with about 40 to 45 different countries. And probably physically too, right? They're already at war economically with about 75 or 100 countries, right? Shooting war, currency war, trade war, shooting war is usually the thing. So it's just what we don't know up here in Canada, like, for example, is Australia, New Zealand, and the UK and the European nations going to come to our aid? We know there's the Nordic 7. Is France going to come to our aid? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, the United States, though, it will be an isolated country. There's no doubt about that. It's already isolating itself, and it's not going to be to its benefit. There's still people out there, and I was one of them that believed this, but now the more we get closer to it, that I'm like, no, it's not going to be like that. As soon as the United States is out of NATO, that's it for NATO. And it's like, no, it's just the alliances are going to restructure in different ways, and we've already seen that. Canada with the Nordic 7. Which is, not only is that very Arctic security going to be targeted against the Russians and the Chinese, but it's also going to be targeted against the Americans. So the three big world superpowers, like, for example, if the UK and France jump in, they're a superpower, right? On day one, they can't do much, but 6 months of war against the Americans, we'll be on the offensive. There's no doubt about that. And it's something I don't want to see, but it looks like Trump is a madman. So, like I say, if he lives past August, September, I think he gets taken out before that. I'm not calling for it, but I'm still saying it's most likely going to be a MAGA supporter, veteran, sniper type that's going to probably take him out, or a couple of guys. It might even be active duty law enforcement. Might be one of his security details. And you're going to see this around the world. It's not just going to be in the States. But it's like, for example, Netanyahu, they're going to get him eventually. You know what I mean? Like, this man, like, people like, these people need to go to jail for the destruction that they've done. Like, there's no way you go to jail for it. You get executed for that. They will assassinate you for that. There's no doubt about now. Who's they? That's the only question. Like, think about it this way. Donald Trump, who's the most likely to kill him? It's like playing the game Clue. Well, we'll start with the MAGA base, because that's the biggest betrayal, right? And betrayal is, look, You ever guys watch that cold case stuff with Joe Kenda? Anyway, he said it best. He goes, every murder, when you dissect it, it always comes down to a form of jealousy of some sort. Every murder, without exception. Right? And usually the one thing that leads to that is betrayal, leads to the jealousy that leads to, to the murder. And by betraying, like, you're talking half, like about 150 million people out of a country, to 170 million people, and you betrayed all of them. And out of that, 90% of them are really pissed with you. Okay. Then you went and stole the president from another country. Like, saying it out loud, when you say it out loud like that. And think about how the Venezuelans are right now. They're not happy. They were supposed to get all this big liberation and stuff like that, and yeah. No, the Venezuelans aren't happy. Mind you, they haven't been happy in a long time. They've had it pretty rough. But no, so they might send Venezuelans to kill Trump. They might send the Iranians have every incentive to kill Trump and Netanyahu and his entire administrations, which I do believe they're going to start to do that because you've killed so many of their guys, and the Israeli Mossad is still hunting down Iranian diplomats and stuff like that are trying to do peace deals, right? So yeah, these people will be given no quarter. And then on top of that, you're at war with the Russians and the Chinese. The Chinese, okay, well, the Chinese are just kind of sitting there quiet, like, here's Xi Jinping, like, you mean to win the war, all I have to do is nothing? like Russia, they're getting hammered, they're losing the fuel, they're losing guys in Ukraine, they're fighting with Europe, they're fucking getting hammered. They have to put up this big fight and hold on. They're holding on, but they have to hold on. And China, I sit here, I do nothing. And you around, all kill each other. How nice. Thank you, Owen. We're buddy. You're my friend. Yeah, I love your straight. It look good on you. Yeah, you should talk. Put the toe up. Yeah, make more money. Yeah. Hey, but am I wrong, guys? You can call me racist if you want, but that was pretty funny. Yeah, am I wrong? Like she's got to be sitting there going, like, the master plan is nothing. And all these generals, we got to take Taiwan. We got to do this. Get these fuckers out of here. No, we're winning just by sitting here. That's it. That's all we got to do is sit here. Just let the United States kill itself. But you never know. You fuck with the Chinese, right? They might do it. If they backstab the Japanese too much, they might do it. If Trump fails to overthrow Iran for Israel, they'll probably do it. I think the Mossad they just kill everybody. They're just lunatics, right? The CIA might do it just because it's like, well, enemies, foreign, domestic. We got to make it look like an accident. He is an old guy. Just put something in the, like, give him a pill or something. I don't know. Get the heart attack gun out. You see these CIA guys running around with heart attack guns again. Who knows? Like, again, it's like a game of Clue. Was it Professor Plum in the library with the pipe wrench? I don't know. But yeah, Trump's days, I think, are numbered. I don't think he. I like somebody. I'm not calling for this. I'm just saying I'm not going to miss the guy. Like, I'll be honest there. But I'm just saying, like, once you get to this level of Banana Republic and clown world, like, assassinations at the top level are just, like, there's no way out of it at that point. And again, like I said, in 2009 and 2010, when we saw the overthrow of Libya, Muammar Gaddafi is the future of the world elites. Meaning, you're going to see a lot of these world elites that think they're going to go hide in their bunkers and just keep making money off the chaos. The pitchfork revolutions are going to find them. New Zealand is not going to be the safe haven for the global elites. Because when the gunboats show up, say, give us the guys or we're going in, the New Zealanders will say, well, you don't have to be dramatic about it. We got four-wheelers. We got, we've got taxis. We've got, we know where they are. you know what I mean? Like, they're not, like, again, like, the people are really pissed off at the world elites. Like, I mean, they've just betrayed us and betrayed us and betrayed us. And they're still gaslighting us that we need all this mass immigration and you're just a racist and a bigot, even though we can't afford it. And, we need all this foreign workers and because of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Uh, you know what I mean? Like, again, at some point, like, if you don't throw the little guy a bone, like the world elites, they can only steal so much wealth from the little guy before they rise up. So you just the sheer civil war of uprisings. Like, again, watch Ireland. Ireland is very discontented right now. The UK is very discontented. It's the Swedish flip out. It's still going to happen. Um, it's just we're there. We're there. It's just when does the people who believe in rule of law finally understand there's no rule of law, and then you see the bad things happen. That's all I'm saying. If you can't figure it out, if you're a CIA agent or an anti-hate Canada guy or SL ADL guy or whatever, and you can't understand that I'm just the guy pointing out the obvious. That's on you. That's on you. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we just got to silence everybody with censorship. It's not possible at this point. People are feeling it in the pocket. Look, the Americans are complaining about fuel prices, okay? And they haven't even seen real fuel price hikes yet. They don't know what it's like to pay $10 a gallon. You know what I mean? You have to understand up here in Canada, yes, we pay a lot more in fuel, but that's where most of our taxation that pays for our healthcare and stuff. Again, not perfect, I get it, but overall, our taxation, even though we're taxed really, really high, we do get something for our money, even if it's not perfect, right? So, yes, we can complain, whatever. Everybody always thinks that free market capitalism is what we need, just more deregulation. And you find out that when you deregulate things, that it's in the short term, it's usually cheaper, but long term, like look at the rail system. The only way you can keep it cheap is if you completely deregulate the maintenance and stuff. Airliners. You start deregulating airliners, they start falling out of the sky. Again, look at all these, air traffic controllers. Yeah, deregulate the air traffic controllers. Then suddenly you got people fucking slamming into fire trucks halfway across the runway on a landing, right? Like, that should never happen. But, oh, well, capitalism, got to keep it cheap because that'd be socialism. Yeah, lose $200 billion worth of equipment in 6 weeks. But a single payer healthcare system in the States. Oh, that'd be socialism. But I'm like, perspective, guys. Like, what could you have gotten for all this war and destruction that Trump has done, and on behalf of the fucking Israelis and the Jews? Again, don't take my word for it. Listen to the Jewish people. The majority of them, again, there's lots of them out there that are, the ones that are out there against it are the anomalies, right? They're the anomalies. The majority of them are for this, right? So why are we so scared to say that these people are self-destructive? Look, if they want to go kill themselves fighting Arabs, that's on them. Why are we paying for it? Why are we contributing? Why are our people dying in the process of defending these people that are undefendable with their genocides and everything like that? Oh, people are being radicalized online. That's what it is. Oh, okay, geez, wow, thanks for telling me. You know what I mean? Anyway, I gotta do other things today, and good news is bin number 17 is about to go out this week. So cleaning up my garage, and it's snowing, raining-ish out there. I don't know if it's winter or spring right now out there, kind of both. But the snow's going down, so as soon as I can get into the barns and start cleaning those up, snow needs to go down about another foot, maybe 2 feet before I could get the brush cutter out there in the field there. It's still, like, again, we're almost halfway through April, and there's still like 2.5, 3 feet of snow. Like, Canada is just sitting in this ice block. It's crazy. The good news about that is it should keep the ground nice and wet, so it's not too dry of a summer. But yeah. But guys, I'll leave you with this. Look, the crackdowns and censorship is going to be there. It always will be. These world leaders, they won't do right by us. The law enforcement are not going to do right by us. The military definitely not going to do right by us. We already see the fact that they're going along with, you know what I mean? Now, maybe, maybe the U.S. Gerald Ford did get sabotaged by a handful of sailors. That's possible, but I'm thinking the damage probably came from missiles. like like if it was sabotage, you wouldn't just see one aircraft carrier being sabotaged from the inside out. You'd see the other two. You'd see it throughout the entire military. So no, the military, you got the odd guy that's getting fired, general getting fired and purged. You have U.S. generals that are going missing. Yeah, so I can imagine they're just the CIA is just killing those guys. Um, you have the ones that are speaking out against the war getting fired. So that again, the idea is to put for Trump to put the most radical, pro-Zionist, evangelical, end times doomer generals in power, so that when they're given the green light to start firing nukes at Iran, that these guys will just do it. And yes, the soldiers will just launch the nukes. They're going to do it. You know what I mean? They're going to do it. It's just, what is it, this week, next week, the week after? I don't know. But you can better believe that the Iranians are going to have a hell of a fucking counter for that. And not only that, the Iranians, I think by week 7 or 8, they're probably going to start to bring the war to the American soil. I do believe they're going to fight an IRA style thing where they're not going to kill a lot of Americans. Because, look, the CIA, the Israelis, the Trump administration, they have to do some sort of a false flag at this point to be able to blame on the Iranians to justify nuking them, right? They need the rally around the flag. But the thing is they can't just do another 9/11 because it's too obvious, right? So they have to do something else. Now, the Iranians are probably looking at this, and if I'm an Iranian general, I'm saying, well, they're going to do a false flag. When they do the false flag, here's what we can hit. Because they're going to blame it on us anyway, right? So, the Iranians, they're hitting this, they're hitting that, and they're saying, no, that got hit, that wasn't us. But that was, right? The desalination plant, for example, they're saying, no, that wasn't us, that was the Israelis doing that just to blame it on us. And it's kind of one of those weird things where I'm not saying I believe everything that comes out of the Iranian regime, because that could just be like, oh, fuck, we fucked up. I thought that was a fuel thing. It's not. It's their water. Okay, just tell them it was the Israelis, right? They could be doing that too. But the Israelis be like, okay, they're hitting that. Hit the water. We'll blame it on the Iranians. We don't know. Like every government in the world is evil, pretty much, without exception. It's just different levels. Some are more tolerable than others. Like yesterday when I made this video, I kind of came up with a bit of a bizarre scenario, and you guys tell me how you would fare out on this. Okay, so if I had a gun to my head, and it was like, you have to vote for one of two guys. Okay, you have to vote for Macron. Okay, no, I'll start with Carney. I have to vote for Carney or Trump, or I'm going to blow your head off. Okay, Carney is. Yeah, I'll hold my nose when I do it, but I don't like the guy, but I see what he's doing. It's not that bad. Where Carney's bad, we can recover if we ever get somebody sensible in there, and whatever. But we're going to take pain no matter what, right? We're already in the everything crisis like every other country in the world, with a couple of little wins here and there. We're doing better than most. Even the Bank of Canada is saying, yeah, the economy's nowhere near where it should be, but we're better off than just about anybody else at this stage. It's just, just look at the world, right? And I'm not saying we're better than everybody else. I'm just saying we're in a better position. Okay, same scenario. Macron. You guys know how much I fucking hate Macron, right? I hate that guy with a passion. I hate that cocksucker, right? Him or Trump or bang, right? All right, okay, I'll go for Macron. I'll protest, but I'll go for Macron. Okay. Starmer versus Trump. Just give me the gun. give me the gun. just make it. I'll make it quick. Don't worry. But that's where we're at, guys. That's what we're up against. You know what I mean? It's just there's no good guys. Mob bosses fighting. I listen to Cameron McGregor. Every now and then, him and Blonde in the Belly of the Beast. She's the show, The Backlash, which I absolutely love that show, is now called The Reset. And basically, Dave Riley, I guess, he was a little too Catholic in his leanings to be able to be on board with the vision of the show. But I hope they're still all friends because I think they're all great people. Whatever. But Cameron McGregor is the deep analyst guy. And Blonde, she's actually, like you gotta hand it to her. She really does see it for what it is. Like she's not a grifter at all. Like it's like no. This is whatever. But anyway, Cameron McGregor has the like for him he's like no, the world elites, like he goes he's been trying to tell people for years that no, that this 4D chess grandmaster plan, that the elites have their fingers on the levers of every bit of power and everything is completely controlled. It's not, and I agree with him that it's not like that. It's not everything goes according to plan. Uh, so I don't think we agree on that. But where I think we're burning the candle at the different ends is that the reason why the world elites always seem to get what they want in a certain way is that their management of the chaos, okay, it's messianic, order from chaos, right? That they know how to manipulate the markets and all that. Like again, the stock markets shouldn't be allowed to exist legally. It's usury to a level that you know like if you have to murder people to make money, and that's what the Trumps are doing right now. But how is Trump different than any like the Bidens? They all make money on the death and destruction, right? But where I disagree with them is that no, the world elites definitely have a plan. Like the Internet of Things, the Great Reset, the Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 stuff is definitely things, and he would agree with that. But he just doesn't think that they're competent enough to pull it off. And that they fired, they played all the cards, fired their last load, and that's it. They're done. Now they're just in reaction mode to everything. And I'm on board with that to the degree of that the no good crisis goes to waste. Meaning it's like, oh, okay, well, this is bad, but we can use this to get this agenda through. And I've always put it at this way. So you think of your New World Order chair, okay? I've been saying this since 2012. They all want to sit on it. They all want to be the leaders of the world, right? Like Starmer wants to be the leader of the world. Carney wants to be the leader of the world. Trump wants to be the leader of the world. Xi wants, Putin wants, Macron wants, everybody wants to be the leader of the world, right? But to sit in that New World Order chair, even if they're all in compliance of the destruction and the chaos to one level or another, in the empire's fighting kind of mentality, the problem is that it's a bloody chair, and I think Catherine Austin Fitz and I came up with the same idea. I've never talked to this lady, but I'd love to have a conversation with her. I think it would be a really cool interview because I have so many questions that I'd ask her, and I'd like to get her take on. But we came up to the same conclusion roughly around the same time that it looks like the world leaders are getting ready to kill each other. And this is what explains like like from the death of Shinzo Abe, when they shot him at point blank, and I said this was going to be the wave of the future for the world elites, right? So you make it to the chair of power, but your days are numbered. So when we see Trump, look, Trump may have, again, I don't know how I still feel about it because did they actually, was the Trump assassination attempt staged? I don't know, but they used it, right? It brought them to like martyrdom like status. And it won him the election, right? But it's also probably what it's going to take to get him out of office because Trump is probably going to suspend the constitutions, right? And suspend the election, right? So the midterms don't mean anything because everything's going to be under martial law anyway. And, Trump is going to just basically use the Zelensky card, right? So you see what I mean? Like they have to rule by fiat, they have to rule by iron fist, or break the law, or break the rules to stay in power. So you can see how when you get into that chair of power, it's a white elephant. Like it's Lord of the Rings. It's like they just all go mad with power, or as they call it, the madness of kings. If you don't know the scenario of the madness of kings is where you get all these kings, they're in in a dining hall telling how they yeah, we're going to have all this big alliance. We're going to do this. Well, meanwhile, while this king is looking over there, the guy puts a little piece of poison out of his ring into that guy's drink, while the other guy's, gives him a poison, grapes or whatever. And the other guy's like, stabs the guy in the back, while the other guy like hugs him and stabs him in the back. It's the madness of kings. They just end up killing each other, right? Problem is us little fuckers get caught in the crossfire. But the thing is also too about that is there can be only one, right? So you have, if you think of the movie from Bruce Willis, Last Man Standing, it's kind of that scenario with the world elites. And I think this is where Cameron McGregor and I disagree, is that he doesn't think that they have that much power over the scenarios and stuff like that. Where I kind of line it that maybe the people that we see in the public, like your Trumps and your Starmers and your Carneys and whatever, and your Macrons and G's and stuff like that, are not like, we don't see that. I don't see them as the top. I see them as the Adelsons. She probably has more control over the American government than what Trump does, right? And I think that's pretty. The Adelson money is like the donor class is, and the stakeholder capitalists, venture capitalists, vulture capitalists, the like the WEF people at the top, the banksters, etc. Those are the ruling class, the royal families, etc., etc., and whoever's above them. Like, you know what I mean? Where does the top actually go? Who is Mr. Global, as Catherine Austin Fitz would say? I don't know. Nobody knows. We know some names like the Soroses and the Rothschilds, Rockefeller, Vanguard, BlackRock, what do you call it, Seed and Co. All these big things that lead to that. The Brofmans here in Canada, and the the Irving family. Like, these people are high up, and then you got all your royals and stuff like that. So I think of it more like mob bosses fighting, but it's just who's bankrolling the mob bosses, right? But I also see it that there is an agenda, that there is a plan, that there is a world elite. Like, you can't get a Chinese style social credit score system without Bill Gates money. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get that. You can't get Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the Monsanto stuff, the jabs, global safe and effective jabs without Bill Gates money, or Amazon delivery systems, right? You can't get real time satellite without the Elon Musks. You can't get all this chaos. And Elon Musk, no, he's not a good guy. He's just a different mob boss. He's a mob boss. He's the mob boss with the character, right? Like, think of like if you think of the movie Goodfellas, right? Like, basically Trump is the Joe Pesci character. So when are they going to put the shovel to him and put him in the ground? I don't know, right? But he's just mad with power. I'm going to kill these guys. I'm going to end this civilization. I'm going to just kill 91 million people to liberate them. Yeah. He's like, but like, you can only laugh at the chaos of it all. But it would be funny if it wasn't so fucking destructive, right? But the thing is that there's also another scenario here that you have to factor in, is the messianic, whether it's the messianic order from chaos and the Satanism, or it's just pure greed from the banking and the elitism, or it's the end times prophecy evangelicals, end times prophecy Muslims, end times prophecy Jews, or whatever it is. Like, these factions all run together in the same field, but they do have different goals. So the goal is to control the world from this angle, from that angle, the Anglo-American Empire, half of the world, Canada, the United States, and Europe, Mexico, whatever, petrodollar, Israel, Eurasia Pacific Empire, the BRICS nations, China, Russia, Iran, some South American countries, some African countries, whatever. They all have an empiristic plan. They're dynasties mixed with empires, mixed with imperialism, mixed with communists, mixed with, you name it, right? Even mixed with capitalists as well, right? And the thing about that is that the method of what makes it look like they're not in control and that they're just reacting is the method, right? So the method is really, if the goal is to knock down, if you're at a bowling lane and the goal is to knock down the pins, and you just grab the bowling ball and you roll that pin, and you're thus said global elitist, and you roll that pin and you knock down the pins, you have to take responsibility for that. They know you do it, right? That's why, like, for example, monarchies. One thing that's good about a monarchy is that you have a king, and if everybody's suffering, it's his head that goes on the pike, right? But when you have a bureaucracy, well, nobody knows where that bowling ball came from. You might know that it was at this end of the lane, but if you put a whole bunch of priceless china all over the lane, when you roll that ball down there and it smashes everything to shit and knocks down the pins at the other end, well, the global elites said, well, the goal was just to knock down the pins. The method to get there doesn't matter. Now, I think that's where Cameron McGregor and I would take issue with each other in how this is playing out. So to me, there's clearly a plan. It's just we're not fully privy to the plan, but we can draw a lot of conclusions, such as, well, if you knock out 20% of the world's oil, you can get your green agenda cars going. And if you knock out 8% of the world's fertilizer, well, you can get your net zero by killing off, a good portion of society, right? Plus, you can get your million men a week or month going into Europe of refugees to destroy any sort of cohesion and homogeneity of Europe. And while you can do this with all the other Western countries as well. So, like, you can see where all these chaotic things, because, like, look, if you were just in it for the money, the last thing you want is all these third worlders in your country, because, you're not going to make money off them unless you're into community housing, building community housing and all that stuff, right? So Ponzi schemes, yes, there's the greed angle. There's so many angles. It's not just one thing. But I do believe that at the very top, like, the world is a stage, and that this is all being orchestrated, because without the power of these people, like Adelson money, without Adelson money and other APEC money and World Jewish Congress and stuff like that, you don't get a United States fighting on behalf of Jews in Israel in Iran. It doesn't happen, right? So that took effort to get that to go. So I'd love to have a conversation with Cameron on this, see what his take would be, because I think he's a pretty smart guy. But my take is that even if we can look at it from, there's a lot of chaos and there's a lot of, reaction to it, that the people that we see reacting are probably not the people that are, making the call. And not only that, the people that are making the call are probably not telling all the people that are reacting, like your presidents and prime ministers and whatever, the full plan. You know what I mean? These are the expendables. Donald Trump is expendable. He's not the most powerful man in the world. Xi is, right? On a political level. But somebody gives Xi orders. You know what I mean? So who is that? Who is Mr. Global? We don't know. Or perhaps maybe it's not Mr. Global. Maybe it's Mr. Empire. Maybe there's a multiple Mr. Empires. Maybe the global elites are way more fractured than we anticipated, right? We don't know. Will we ever know? I don't know. Like, for example, the whole Epstein thing could not happen without a massive plan at the top to make sure every judge and lawyer and investigator does not arrest these pedophiles. You know what I mean? Like, that can't happen without that kind of power structure. It can't happen without the money. It can't happen without having an iron fist over that. You're telling me there's no brave law enforcement military out there whatsoever, or judge or lawyer to prosecute this? That they can just never seem to get into power? You know what I mean? Well, that doesn't happen unless there's a real control over that grid. You know what I mean? Like, how do you get every judge to be corrupt on this? You know what I mean? Like, how does that happen? Again, there has to, to what levels does this corruption go? It would probably boggle our minds if we could truly fully understand it. You know what I mean? And it's not that I dismiss anything that anybody else says, but I'm like always we always have to factor, no matter how much knowledge we have, we probably only know a fraction of what it actually is. You know what I mean? And even the people at the top probably only have a fraction of what they're capable. And this is probably what sows most of the chaos. Like, who would ever think trying to take out 91 million people when your country's only 7 million people? You know, like, who would ever think attacking Iran was a good idea? You know what I mean? Like, who would ever think that they were that much of a paper tiger? like, were they that completely blind? No, I'm pretty sure you're telling me there's not one fucking U.S. general, no matter what, that was sane, even if they were the most hardcore Zionists, that couldn't figure out that if we attack Iran on behalf of Israel, Israel will completely kill every Jew on the planet. Like, you're telling me you cannot figure that out? That you are so inept, that you are so blinded by American exceptionalism and the manifest destiny and Zionism and Israel's are, no. These people know the destruction's coming. They want it. Why? Because end times prophecy suggests that everything gets wiped out in the Battle of Armageddon. In other words, they want the Jews to die. The Jews want to die because they want they want the Mashiach, the ones that survived the Armageddon, right? It's a cult. It's a cult. So you have to factor so many different crazy things in. You say, yeah, but Reg, I don't believe in all this biblical prophecy stuff. It's not what you believe. It's what the people with gobs and gobs of power believe, right? It's never about this is why the average normie is still saying things like white supremacy. The Israelis are white supremacists. No, they're Jewish supremacists. They're not white supremacists. I mean, the Jews amongst each other hate each other. There's like 123 different tribes of Jews. None of them get along. But they hate everybody else more. You know what I mean? You see the same thing with the Arabs. Christians are weird. Like, you could have Presbyterians sitting beside Catholics, sitting beside Protestants, whatever. And yeah, for the most part, but they'll go to war each other over their own warring internal factions as well. You know what I mean? This is the thing that you have to factor in. That nothing is off the table. You know, like, no chaos is too much. And that, trust me, when you hear all these World Economic Forum people and these TED Talks of talking about, depopulating the world, but yet we have to have 100 million people in Canada by the year 2050. And that's not going to, maybe it has to be by 2040, but we don't know why, but we have to have this much, compact for migration going on with the UN, or else we won't be good on the world stage unless we have 100 million people. And you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense because you're dealing with lunatics, right? You're dealing with the little definition of lunatics. These people they might sound like they're normal, but they are truly insane. They don't know they're insane. But because when we say somebody's insane, you picture like 12 monkeys or one who flew over the cuckoo's nest or whatever insane. You picture the homeless guy yelling at clouds, right? You don't picture the guy in the suit putting consecutive coherent sentences together. You know what I mean? But when you listen to the message, that's when you realize, okay, when Donald Trump says he wants the 51st state, he means it. When he says he's going to take out Canada's economy, economically at first, but I'm not going to rule military intervention off the table or regime change, he means it. You know what I mean? And again, there's so many people that they're in disbelief. They can't understand that these people are insane, right? They're mad with power and insane, and they're corrupt as hell. It's a part of humanity. Like, when you see the mask off moments, like Trump, like they call it Trump derangement syndrome, you understand what a person is, and when they tell you what they are, you just believe them, right? It's like, okay, yeah, when they tell you who they are, you should just believe them. But when you see, like, for example, when Trump goes off the rails, right, and people just dismiss it's because his staff is lying to him. It's like, no. He knows, just like this guy, the second you criticize him, he takes to the internet. He's on the internet more than a 16-year-old girl. It's just, this guy, if you think he doesn't know that his generals are lying to him, because that's the cope. The cope is that if the generals and the intelligence agencies are lying to Trump, then Trump's not really the bad guy. Because it's easier to believe that than it is to believe that, hey, Trump is sending our guys to their deaths on behalf of a sacrifice to Israel for end times prophecy. That's a different pill to swallow. You know what I mean? And a lot of people in the normie world, just that's why they're, people are stressed out. They're angry. They don't understand. And they're late to the party. They really, truly think, their talking points are 15 years old. I'm glad they're at least are now going down the right lane. But it might take, and I believe a lot of people are just going to come to the conclusion the 100th monkey effect is taking place in real time. I've talked to, I'll leave on this because I've got other stuff I got to do today. But the 100 monkey effect is basically, they did an experiment where they had 2 different islands with monkeys on it. And there were like 100 monkeys. And one monkey would discover like a technology or something like that to use with the tribe. And almost, even though these monkeys were completely isolated from each other, never to know of each other's existence, they would develop around the same thing, around the same amount of time, right? And it's just kind of like the reasoning of stuff. And humanity is kind of like that, where we kind of all think of the same ideas roughly within a time frame of each other, of coming up with this concept, that concept, or whatever. And everybody suddenly you go to a foreign shore and it's like, okay, well, we invented this, but they've got it too, a version of it too, right? Build a better mousetrap, so to speak. And that's what's happening with Zionism and Jews. Like, people are starting to say, okay, it's not Zionism, it's not just Israel, it's Jewish people. You know what I mean? It's the rabbis that are telling you how radical they are. It's not all of them, but the majority of them are on board with this chaos, right? And you get called anti-Semite, racist, bigot, whatever they gaslight you as, because their whole thing is that if we say that to you, you will just cower down and whatever. But that doesn't work. So what's the next phase? Well, the next phase is hate speech laws, debanking, and then when that doesn't work, they throw you in the gulag, and when that doesn't work, they put you up against the wall, Bolshevik style, and shoot you, right? Or hang you, or whatever it's going to be. That's what the next radical wave of leftivism is going to bring, is the full Bolshevik 2.0. Because it's the only way they can stop the opposition, right? Is they have to kill them. But it's a two-way street, right? Because people sometimes fight back, right? It's just most of the time in history, when the people fight back, they lose. And then when things mellow out, they tend to win, right? So, yeah, it just is what it is. But this time around, we're in the technology age with the internet. Like, it will be hard for them to win this one. So we might see an anomaly in history where the entirety of like Europe and the United States and Canada and stuff like that, like, okay, Israel's the bad guy, but just because Israel's the bad guy doesn't mean we want the rest of the Middle East in the United States. Like, you even have Germany coming to the 100th monkey of, okay, well, we got to make sure we can deport refugees when they come in and cause trouble, rather than saying, oh, well, yeah, but the human rights say, if a refugee goes back, and even if they're raping and pillaging and murdering people in your country, we can't send them back to their country of origin after their jail sentence, because they could be executed, they could be persecuted. I think at this point, number one, if they're doing those crimes, bring in the death penalty for them. Don't just set them back in the world to create more chaos somewhere else. But at that point, I think we should be sending you back for like lesser crimes. Like you steal here. Oh yeah, but they'll kill me if I go back to my old country. Well, that's on you. You know what I mean? Like, why should we care about you now? You know what I mean? Like, and people are coming to that. They're coming to a tribal mindset. It will take a little while, but you're seeing it. Late to the party, sure, but late to the party is chaos for sure. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, because once you're at the chaos stage, the upside is that you have to build something new. And that's where you get your revolutionary, forward-thinking stuff. Good, bad, ugly. That's where you get empires. That's where you get tribalism and civilization and stuff like that. So the only way out is through. There's no going back. A new golden age could be 10,000 years away. We're probably going globally under, say, 3,000 years to 5,000 years of a version of globalist communism and transhumanism, but it will be in pockets. So the people in the Badlands will probably fare off really, really well, but it will be tribal. So Mad Max meets technological wonder. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's going to be crazy. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. So hope you guys have a good weekend. Hopefully we survive without getting nuked. But who knows? Again, the crazies are in power, right? And there's no good guys. So we'll see what happens. The ceasefire, don't put much faith in it. I don't even think I don't even think they stopped shooting yet. So, that's one of the things about a ceasefire. You actually have to have like a pause. Like everyone's like, no, Israel violated the ceasefire. No, Iran did. No, the United States did. No, Qatar did. UAE did. No, nobody, because we haven't ceased fire yet. Like, it's like, okay, everybody stop. 1, 2, 3, go. See who's first, and then we can blame it on that guy. But no, like the Iranians, like, no, it's 10-point plan or fuck off, right? And again, why would they make any concessions when they have the upper hand? It's their war to squander, And again, the longer the war goes on, the stronger Iran's going to get. U.S. air power is too weak to take out Iran. They could send everything they have, every bomb they have. 6 months after using every ordinance out of the United States, including nukes, Iran starts rebuilding. I know people don't believe that. Like this idea that the nukes will like kill everybody on the planet, it's going to make a lot of people sick. It'll probably kill most people on the planet. But if you only nuke one country, look, Fukushima did not destroy the ocean, but it did a lot of damage. You know what I mean? 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl did not kill everybody on the planet, but it created a lot of acid rain. And the acid rain thing is a bit of a hoax anyway. Yeah. What I used to think was acid rain was actually pollen. Like when you find out later, it's like, oh, look at it, because they showed it on the news, these yellow puddles. And it's like, oh my God, it's acid rain, it's acid rain. Beware of the acid rain. That was in the 1980s, right? Acid rain. And it's like, it's not really a thing. Like all the climate hoax stuff, it's just a different version of it. But anyway, yeah. Like again, when you really start to look, guys, as soon as you hear something, I don't care if it comes from the left, if it comes from the right, and it triggers you, just dig to the source of it, not to the partisan of it. The problem is we spend too much time listening to the partisan, not the source. If you want to know how much of a lunatic Trump is, listen to him. If you want to know how much of a lunatic Netanyahu is, listen to him. Never mind the people reporting on him as much. I know I'm one of them, but don't take my word for it. Listen to them. When they tell you how crazy they are, listen to them. You know what I mean? This is why I draw the conclusion. This is why, guys, anybody that's followed my channel for more than a decade, maybe not this channel, but my older channel and stuff like that, I get the same thing all the time. Oh, this guy's a lunatic, right? Now, they'll watch part of my video and I'll say something that just sounds completely unhinged and outrageous. And I understand how it comes off. That's why I laugh at the madness of it all, because I was like, I know how I must sound. And look, when I have normies out in the real world, which I do not talk politics with anybody in the real world, there's no point, because you got to meet people where they're at. And if they're still thinking that it's what Fox News or the CBC said or BBC or whatever, or CNN, I can't have a conversation with that person because they have no clue what's going on. You know what I mean? They just have no nuance of it. They heard the story. They only know the conflict from when it starts, right? And what they're being told. What they don't realize is that it's a little bit longer-winded than that, right? But even at that, it's like, when people come to my channel and I say the craziest things, I know there's a lot of Americans, most of you that watch are Americans, and you're like, Reg, we're not going to attack you. You're just being hyperbolic. That's just left-wing propaganda against Trump, blah, blah, blah. He's not going to do it. He's going to do it. Why? Because I'm seeing the indicators. I'm looking at not just Trump, but the response. For example, I believe there are American generals that are warning Canadian generals. I have no proof of this, But if I'm looking at the military movements up in my own country, they're suggesting that we are slowly mobilizing, very slowly. There is no indicators that the United States is mobilizing against us yet, but there will be. And as soon as I see them, I will tell you about them. And again, where to watch? Watch the Northwest Passage this spring. When we see U.S. Ships going through there contesting Canadian, that's not an international waterway. There's Canadian soil on both sides of it. It is an inland waterway. And if Trump is going to say, well, you better be ready to fight for it, he's already made that threat that if the Canadian Navy challenges the U.S. going through there, that they're going to have a bad day. That is a direct threat against my country. That's not he's just talking, right? There are Americans, for some reason, have such a hatred for Canada, and they want to destroy us just because we're Canadian. You know what I mean? And you say, well, Reg, isn't there Canadians like that with America? Probably, but there's no Canadian that's like, we got to invade America. Invade America. And it's not like whether it's a lunatic idea or not. That's not what we're saying. What I'm saying is that even on the radical left, where they're like anti-American for the sake of being anti-American, colonialism and whatever, meanwhile, the Americans were never really truly colonials, even though they came from colonialist countries. But colonialism is misunderstood by those people anyways, nor good nor bad. It was just an ism of the time. You know what I mean? Like tribalism, colonialism, same thing. It just one had ships that went around the world very impressively and conquered the known world with like freaking tall ships and cannons and muskets. It's like very impressive, no matter how you look at it. Like the British were pretty hardcore. Yeah. What happened, Rick? What happened? But what I'm saying to you is that those people don't understand. They don't understand it that way. Like, there's no leftist that's saying we have to invade the United States. They can say all kinds of stuff, but the leftists in the States, they're all pro-Canada pretty much. And they want to move here. No, I don't want them. I don't. No. We already have the point of privilege cards, people. I definitely don't want to be saturated with left-wing Americans. We're in trouble enough as it is. But that said, there are Americans that believe in manifest destiny and American exceptionalism to the point where that they believe anywhere they go in the world, why doesn't everybody use the U.S. dollar everywhere I go? Why doesn't everybody speak English? Why aren't they just, why you got people that go to Europe and they're like, it's the 4th of July, why aren't they celebrating? You know what I mean? You've got Americans like that, You'll never see a Canadian do that. You'll never see a Canadian go, oh, it's the 1st of July, I'm in Spain. Why aren't they celebrating? Let's get some bulls out. Let's do some running. You know what I mean? No, it's like you might celebrate. Especially, good sir, what are you celebrating? Oh, it's my country's basically Independence Day. You can celebrate with me if you like. Oh yeah, okay. I'll buy you a beer. You buy me a beer. Whatever. You know what I mean? But that the concept of the world revolving around a country is usually an American idea. It's not. I'm not picking on them. It's just been so propagandized that way, right? Canada, we go around. We think we're the good guys everywhere we go, right? Right now, it just happens to be working in our favor. Most places it does. Like if you go to Belgium and you're a Canadian, you tend to get treated like gold. Talk to anybody that goes to Belgium because of World War II, right? The Netherlands in general. Like the Netherlands, they love us because of World War II. You know what I mean? The Germans, they tend to respect us, but they're German first. Germans are Germans. If you're ever around a lot of Germans, you'll know what I mean. They're their own breed. I have nothing against Germans whatsoever. But it's like everything has to be German. It's like, is it German enough to be German for the Germans? You know what I mean? That's the only way, it's Germans. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But they never go anywhere saying, I'm German and you should be doing it. Okay, they did it in World War II, but that like aside from that, they don't do that, right? But the Americans do this, right? And why is this important to understand? Well, it's very important to understand for a few reasons. Is that this is the before the fall of the United States, this is what people are going to have to come to terms with when they've been told their whole lives American exceptionalism, manifest destiny craziness, and stuff like that, and rugged individuality and all that, and then they're going to be torn apart by it, right? And you already see it. This is why you have the radical left in the United States, is that's what they're, it's misunderstood of what it's supposed to be. But like American exceptionalism, every time you hear it, there's usually a war involved with it, right? And that war is usually on behalf of Israel. Why do you think all the wars are just around the Middle East? Sure, there's other wars in Africa and stuff like that, but they're like little mud hut villages shooting at each other with bows and arrows. You know what I mean? Like when you think about how can it can be only one region of the world. Like if Israel was in Asia, that's where all the wars would be. You know what I mean? And again, yeah, you got like jungle wars going on, like Papua New Guinea and stuff like that, high crime. Sure, but it's not B-52s clearing, like dropping 10-mile strips of bombs, like it's not even close. So legitimate war and tribal stuff, yes, that is around the world still, but the actual, big mega corporation wars are for Israel. And that's what people are coming to the conclusion for, to the point where at least a lot of the Israelis and, Jewish people that are on board with it, they're just saying, yeah, well, it's because we're the chosen people. They deny, gaslight, and then when they can't do that anymore, then it's like, well, it's just because you're an anti-Semite that you don't want to destroy Palestine and stuff and Iran and whatever. Again, it's lunacy. It's lunacy. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. So we'll see what kind of madness plays out tomorrow, the next day, whatever. No matter what, you'll be entertained. Hopefully you live long enough to get entertained. But yeah, anyway, next to that. Rate, subscribe, share, comment, like, be true to yourself, be true to others. Always do the right thing. Have yourselves a great day, eh?